All right, thank you. I'm going to call this meeting of the Champaign County Board to order. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Iris.
Here.
Cagle.
Here.
Carter.
Here.
Cowart.
Present.
Crane. Esri. Barney.
Here.
Fava.
Here.
Furtado. Hanauer Friedman.
Here.
Lakshan.
Here.
Pugh.
Present.
Rodriguez.
Here.
Rogers. Settles. Sexton.
Present.
Sollard. Thorsland.
Here.
Wiggs.
Here.
Wilson. Locke.
Here.
We have a quorum. All right, as we are still in planting season, the prayer for tonight is, today we lift up those who labor and toil to ensure food will make it from the farm to our tables. Let's please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Will the clerk please read the notice of the meeting?
Notice is hereby given that a regular meeting of the County Board, Champaign County, Illinois, will convene on April 23rd, 2026, 6:30 p.m. in the Shields Carter Meeting Room, Benton Administrative Center, 102 East Main Street, Urbana, Illinois, in said county for the purpose of allowing and ordering payments of claims against the county, receiving and acting upon reports of committees, and such other matters as may be brought before said meeting, which said meeting shall continue in session from day to day until the completion of said business.
All right, can I get a motion to approve the agenda? Motion from Thorsland, second by Aras. Yes, Chair Locke.
Make a motion to amend the agenda. I'd like to move communications. I guess that's item 6. Let me try that again. What do we have? Item 11, communications, to the end of the meeting to respect the time of everybody in this room. And then also to move item 13B1 to immediately after public input. So that would be moving the moratorium vote to immediately after public input.
Is there a second to that? Second by Mr. Farney. Motion a second to amend the agenda. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Okay.
All right, all in favor of our amended agenda, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. We have an agenda. Thank you. All right. The next regularly scheduled meetings are listed on the agenda. On to employee recognition. Can I get a motion to approve the adoption of Resolution 2026-77 honoring county employees for years of service? Okay, motion by Locke, second by Sexton. All right, normally I have a copy. Okay, there's the resolution. All right. We have a motion and a second. Policy chair is not here. Neither is the vice chair, so that the honor then falls to me, I guess. All right. Resolution number 2026-77, honoring county employees for years of service. Whereas it is the vision of the Champaign County Board to be a recognized leader in local government where every official and employee has a personal devotion to excellence in public service and embraces the highest standards of ethics and integrity, which enables Champaign County to provide the best customer service to its citizens. And whereas one element of pursuing this vision is communicating to employees that their service to Champaign County is valued and appreciated. And whereas Champaign County employees admirably serve the people of Champaign County with full commitment to the responsibilities of county offices, work in partnership with fellow employees and county officials, and have a dedication to the best interests of all of the people of Champaign County. And whereas the Champaign County Board wishes to recognize the dedication and service of the employees who have reached 5- and 10-year milestones in April 2026. Now therefore be it resolved that the Champaign County Board hereby recognizes each of the aforementioned Champaign County employees as an asset to the citizens of Champaign County and expresses gratitude and sincere appreciation for their years of service. Presented, adopted, and approved 26th day of March, 2026. All right. William Watson, physical plant, 5 years of service. Paul Bates, supervisor assessment, 10 years of service. Andrew Muller, State's Attorney's Office, 5 years of service. Michelle Coronado, State's Attorney's Office, 5 years of service. And Jessica Hendricks, Probation and Court Services. Would Mr. Beckett with the State's Attorney's Office like to come forward to talk about the two members of their staff?
Thank you. Good evening. I'm Andrew Beckett. I'm Civil Division Chief for the State's Attorney's Office. I'm delighted to be here tonight to acknowledge two of our employees reaching the 5-year milestone. Both of them happen to be in the Civil Division, and I think it's a great opportunity not just to recognize them, but to highlight some of the various things that the State's Attorney's Office does. So first of all, I would just say that Michelle Coronado, who is not here tonight, does an absolutely fantastic job in the Child Support Enforcement Division. She is dedicated and enthusiastic and always quick to volunteer if extra help is needed, and we certainly appreciate all that she contributes to the county. I would also note that we're celebrating another 5-year anniversary for Andrew Muller, who is here tonight. Andrew wears many hats, and I'm not going to list all of the hats, but he does just such important work. Andrew is the primary person responsible in the State's Attorney's Office for bringing mental health petitions to the court to highlight there's a member of our community who might need medical attention in some way or care that they're not otherwise receiving, and that is just such vital, important work for the health and safety of our community and for the affected individuals in those mental health cases. Andrew also is the attorney in our office who spends the most time dealing with animal control issues, and I can tell you that there are any number of times where Andrew becomes aware of an animal in our county that is being mistreated. Often the pictures are absolutely horrifying, and he pays as much attention to trying to help that animal as we do trying to help some of the humans in our community. I know that the judges are often very quick to listen to what Andrew has to say whenever there's an animal in our community who is vulnerable. Setting aside what Andrew does on a daily basis, I will just say that I've only been with the county for about 18 months, and I just could not be more relieved that Andrew was here whenever I came on board. He knows so much about so many things, and he's just a never-ending resource for discussing what we're going to do about a particular situation. But what I guess I would say for last is he spends a lot of time assisting a lot of you because he's the person in the county, in the State's Attorney's Office, who spends the most time responding to Freedom of Information Act requests, working with various elected officials and employees of the county on how to respond to those. He responds to Open Meetings Act questions, and he does trainings for all of you on the Freedom of Information Act, on an Open Meetings Act. And so you just have a tremendous resource in Andrew Muller, and I'm very excited I got the opportunity tonight to highlight the important things that the Civil Division is doing that maybe people don't think about when they think, what does a State's Attorney's Office do? So thank you for this recognition for them and for this time tonight. Thank you.
Probation Director Siders, would you like to come up?
Hi, I am Shannon Siders. I'm the Director of Champaign County Probation and Court Services, and I am here to recognize Jessica Hendricks, who is back here behind me with her son, Cody. Jessica is one of our, can you stand up? Jessica is either 2 days or 2 weeks from having a baby right now. So standing up's a little difficult for her, but I will tell you she worked 12 hours today out at JDC and she worked 12 hours yesterday. Jessica is one of our day shift supervisors out at JDC. She's been a supervisor for about 2 years now. She was a detention officer for about 3 years before that. She was one of the union stewards before she became a supervisor. She is a little quiet and introverted and hard to get to know, but you can tell that she really cares deeply about the kids and her employees. She's very detail oriented. She's very observant and in tune with what's going on. I asked for employee evaluations a couple months ago. Jessica sent me back like the most detail about every single one of her employees and the good things they are doing and the things that they can work to improve on. And I didn't get that from any other supervisor in my department. So Jessica knows what's going on her shift and with the kids in custody. She will give them the mom look and they will kind of get their act together after that. So she's good at the mom look, which is good. Since she's got her son with her and another son coming here shortly. She, in her personal life, I found out when we were working together that she's a reader. We both share that in common, and she likes football, and she likes to rollerblade. We don't have that in common. That is not something I will do. But she just told me tonight when we were talking that she wished she could rollerblade right now. Probably not a good idea. But the county is really lucky that Jessica has stuck with JDC for the past 5 years, and hopefully it will be many more. So thank you.
Thank you. All right. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
With the same sign, motion carries. Thank you very much for your service. All right, on to public input. If there are other members of the public that wish to address the board, please fill a form from the table out in the lobby and return it to one of my staff members. There's an hour allocated for public input, and we have quite a few members of the public that would like to speak tonight, so we ask that you try not to be redundant so that we can hear from as many people as possible. My first request is from Chris Powers.
Good evening. I am opposed to the construction of data centers, period, in Champaign County because they serve the purpose of processing data for artificial intelligence. I'm not a fan of artificial intelligence. I think it's dangerous. I think it's unregulated. In fact, Congress has under consideration a bill right now that would ban states from regulating AI and free the industry to do pretty much whatever the heck it pleases without any safeguards. So without further ado, I'm going to let my computer speak to you.
Fully understand processes. Instead of artificial intelligence with an ethical framework, which you might think of business. Congressional Republicans to the states. Fuzzy to summarize a Wikipedia entry, but one system convinced a high schooler to take his own life. Another assisted a Florida shooter with his plan for mass murder. And virtually all systems have been shown to lie to their designers or even secretly attempt to preserve their code on other servers if they suspect they are about to be unplugged. AI is even being used to test autonomous weapons, which could remove humans from decision making. Jeffrey Hinton, the widely recognized godfather of AI, estimates it poses a 10 to 20% risk of human extinction. Elon Musk similarly puts the existential threat of AI to human existence at 20%. A 2022 survey of CEOs found 48% of those surveyed believe AI will eventually destroy humankind. The multi-billionaire masters of Silicon Valley are profiting enormously from dumbing us down. Each time we log on, digital systems are measuring our attention spans, recording our preferences, selling our personally identifying information, and taking full advantage of our misplaced trust. Our species has invented multiple means of its own destruction, from nuclear weapons to climate change. Yes, large data centers risk our environment while driving energy costs higher. But remember, data centers exist only to enrich their owners. The societal costs aren't considered important. So as I stand here, I'm worried as much about artificial intelligence as about natural stupidity.
Thank you.
Steve, just a question. The past two meetings, ordinarily the microphones come out of the microphones when you don't have the microphone on and you can hear better. I don't hear very well. I know some of us don't hear very well. And it's been inordinately quiet the past couple of meetings, and I don't know if IT can either turn that up or make it come back out of the televex like it used to.
All right, let's bring up the next speaker. Let's bring up the next speaker, and I'll check with IT. All right. Next speaker is Samuel Grayson.
Hello, I'm here to speak about a related subject, not the AI data centers, but rather the AI-powered surveillance cameras. I have put in a Freedom of Information Act request inquiring about the procurement documents of those cameras on April 2nd, and it's in the county's interest for government transparency to respond to that request. It's also required by law. Illinois compiled statutes Title 140, Chapter 7, gives the county 5 business days to respond to Freedom of Information Act requests. It has been 15 business days. So I submitted a complaint to the Office of the Attorney General Public Access Council. I would be very happy to withdraw that complaint once that Freedom of Information Act request is returned. Even if it is denied or more time is needed, the county still has to tell me that it's being denied within 5 business days, tell me that more time is needed. I don't even know if it's been received. So I sent an email on April 2nd, April 12th. I've put 3 voicemails, and I don't even know if the request is being received. So I would appreciate better transparency that is required by the law with respect to the handling of Freedom of Information Act requests. Thank you.
Thank you. He's adjusting the mics a little bit. Hopefully that's better. All right, thank you.
Did it help?
I think it did, yeah. All right, the next person I have just Brianna. Thank you.
Hi, I'm a community member here in Champaign, Urbana, and I wanted to talk about the AI data center that's proposed.
There's a lot of reasons why I oppose the AI data center. There are a lot of environmental concerns. Up until very recently, our entire county plus the surrounding counties were in a drought, and that's very scary for a town that relies so heavily upon agriculture. There's also, pollution concerns that should be taken into effect. It's going to make it hotter. It's going to make our energy costs higher. It seems like a lot of detrimental things to happen to our community for something that doesn't seem to be bringing a lot of benefit. AI data centers help enable AI, which is also a really big problem. I work in healthcare, and AI has been a nightmare, from denying claims based on things that deserve a lot more nuance to making it very hard for us to access communicating with people. I don't know if anyone's tried to call any places recently, but the AI wall that stops you from getting in touch with people is awful. You talk in circles. There's so many reasons why we should oppose AI, and we have a limited, finite amount of water on this planet, and using it to spread disinformation and make the world a hotter place does not seem like a good use of that. So I think that we should all consider those things and vote based on that. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next is Jason Votava.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Jason Votava. I live here in Urbana, and I am the presumptive next representative from District 9 after the election in November. First, I'd like to thank the board for taking such a proactive stance about opening these discussions, all the work that the Environmental and Land Use Committee has already devoted to the topic, and everyone here, this is what democracy looks like. Thank you for showing up. And thank you all for listening to what a number of folks will say, that I also am opposed to having data centers here in our community and surrounding communities, since it's not just Champaign's natural resources that are concerned, but also our neighbors. And I look forward to, in the future, also continuing to vote with you against these things. Thank you.
Samuel Tamori. Samuel Tamori, that's 913 Crestwood Drive, Urbana. Okay, thank you.
Hi, my name is Samuel Tomori, and I am someone from the next generation of our community. So, first, when people think of building the AI center and use our water from our aquifer, which gives 1 million people their drinking water, their shower water, their dishwasher water, their laundry water, their agricultural water, and many other reasons for something that we do not rely on. We need the water from our aquifer, but we do not need AI. We can just have the intelligence ourselves, but we don't need the AI as we need our water. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Samuel. All right, the next person up is Elizabeth Kirby.
I'm Elizabeth Kirby from Champaign, Illinois, and I've come to the last couple of meetings that we've had about the data centers. A lot of environmental concerns have been raised, and a lot of other concerns too, about growth in our economy. We have an economy that is based on infinite growth into the future. It's an extractive economy. It's not a regenerative economy. We are taking the very lifeblood of the earth and using it for profiting. We have an energy crisis right now. We've been talking about energy. We're all, let's fight fossil fuels. Let's get rid of fossil fuels. And yet, we're building AI data centers so that they can summarize my email chains. You know, I've recently, just this week, I've had a person sends me an email, and AI writes a response for me to send to them. And I haven't done, well, I did send it. I said, this is the AI response. Here's mine. I'm not sure that those are really the priorities that we should be putting first right now. It's been 10 years ago last month since E.O. Wilson wrote Half Earth, and it's what he felt we need to do as a world to save our biosphere. We need to move in that direction. And in the United States, different places have talked about, well, let's move to 30%. You know, we're going in the wrong direction. The data centers, the high rises, if you look at the small towns around here, they're becoming almost like suburbs. So I'm concerned, and I do want to say, it was 1970 that Donella Meadows and the team at MIT wrote the book for the Club of Rome, the report, The Limits to Growth. And she said then, we can't just focus on growth. Sure, people want to have jobs in building, but we can't just keep tearing everything down and putting up new buildings to give people jobs. We need to really focus on what we need to do to have a viable economy that works for the earth and for everybody.
Just a bit of information for board members. We can't really see who is in the lobby, but we have about another 70 to 75 people in the lobby as well, just in terms of the volume of folks that we have here. All right, the next person I have up is Anne Marie Shapiro.
I should start. Okay, I'm Anne Marie, thanks. I'm going to frame this a little bit differently rather than just saying I'm for this or I'm against this, because what little I've started to research the issue, in a lot of communities, there's massive uprising opposing these data centers, and they still happen. So I'm going to try to step back and take a slightly bigger picture statement to you guys, which is, first of all, I want to thank you for our chance to speak. What I would say to you is I'd like to be honorable, honoring myself, honoring all of you, and honoring everybody, no matter whether they are for or against this. And what I would say is, at my best self, I actually would give you a conditional acceptance of this. I would say, sure, let's do this. You guys, as individuals, are standing between your constituents, every individual in the county, and whoever the, so far to me, anonymous or mysterious person or persons who came to you asking for this. You guys are kind of in the middle. So what I would say to you, as supposedly our representatives, I conditionally accept it. And here are the conditions: that there is absolutely no harm done. So quickly, to respect everyone's time, there would be no noise. I've seen videos online of extreme noise that would be like torment to some individuals, probably considered harassment to wildlife, especially those that are protected, if there are any near the area that the sound would emit. pets, farm animals, agriculture. No heat pollution. There's data that the immediate surrounding area has a drastic increase in temperature. That is a violation of our natural world and would be considered harm, I think, by most people. That the infrastructure of Ameren, their capacity to provide electricity, to respond to residents, and just to continue their business model is not impacted negatively. There are no availability shortages to everybody in the county. Cost, rates, and price do not change, so there is no harm. Water, there's no pollution. I've been hearing online again of terrible toxic sludge that's produced by all the evaporative cooling. There's not problems with runoff, there's not problems with storage, there's not problems with our surface water, there's not problems with our aquifer being drained too quickly. These are just my conditions. I'm totally for this if you guys can guarantee this. There are no electromagnetic frequency pollutions or impacts that come off of this piece of land that impact animals, plants, agriculture, the weather, humans, our mental health, our physical health. No detrimental electromagnetic emissions. Property values in the county do not change, especially those that are immediately near it. They are not impacted like everybody is saying online that they literally cannot sell their homes anymore and they're stuck there. And then this is much more subtle and important, which is, some people have mentioned, which is the uses of the AI. Any function of AI that takes away American jobs, I would consider harm. So make sure that this center does not take away any American jobs. I don't want to see the military using this AI. I don't want to see the Israeli military using this AI. I don't want to see the DoD in charge of this data that comes out, any foreign government, any intelligence agencies, and yes, they all collaborate together. Our allies and us, all of our intelligence agencies are working together. I don't want them this AI used to target, to create target identification, war strategies, war planning. You can research Palantir, you can research Lavender, who has prosecuted. It is an AI that has dictated the war, the genocide in Gaza, and there is an AI that is dictating what is happening in Iran right now. I oppose, or I would consider harm, and it would be against my agreement for any extrajudicial surveillance of American citizens, including digital ID, age verification, digital passports, programmable currency that a remote third party could control, all dependent on AI and would never be able to happen without AI. Anything like CBDCs, which I know half the country opposes, but there are private versions of that in stablecoin. Oh, sorry. Oh, that's most of it. Those are my conditions.
You so much. All right, next speaker is Amy Young. Amy Young.
Call or
Sure.
call?
Next person is Christine Bidner.
Hi. I'm Amy Young. I'm an Urbana resident. I'd like to speak about restoring the 12-month data center moratorium over the 9-month data center moratorium. In the case of Imperial Valley Computing Manufacturing versus the City of Imperial, California, that's case 326 EV 00120. I'm sorry, I don't know how to say these things. January 2026. The AI developer Sebastian Rucci sued the city and 4 officials by name personally for civil rights violations after the city tried to pump the brakes too late. A 12-month moratorium is cheaper than a federal litigation. If we rush to a 9-month compromise and we get the zoning and the science wrong, the city risks being sued, the city officials risk being named individually in a lawsuit from a very rich person for arbitrary decision-making, and the residents pay a lot of legal bills. 12 months of due diligence is our legal insurance policy. In an independent report, Virginia showed that the state of Virginia spent $1.2 million per permanent job created for data centers in that state in 2024. $267 million in lost tax revenue was diverted from K-12 schools to subsidize these facilities. And another independent audit in Georgia showed that the actual tax losses were $2.5 billion, a 664% error over original estimates. Another report I read said for every dollar Georgia invested, the state taxpayers lost 41 cents. Under Section 229 of the Illinois Income Tax Act, developers get a 20% construction wage credit for underserved areas. That means that hyperscalers, Musk, Bezos, Zuckerberg, have a combined net worth of $1.8 trillion. That's more than some countries in the world. But the data shows that only 40% of the jobs, construction jobs for data centers, are local. That means that we taxpayers could be giving a 20% tax credit to sojourner labor that does not even live in this county. I don't know why we're giving tax breaks to these hyperscalers. I rode my bike here. Apparently, I am not rich enough and I do not pollute enough to get a tax break in this state. And the international treaty, Article 100 of the international treaty, the Great Lakes St. Lawrence River Basin Agreement from 2005, Article 100 states a lack of scientific certainty should not be used as a reason for postponing measures to prevent environmental degradation. The state of Illinois signed this treaty. Water is a shared international resource, and consumptive use, i.e. evaporation or pollution, as a permanent withdrawal and a permanent degradation. If we rush because we are not sure of the impact, we risk violating an international agreement, giving Ontario and Quebec and Canada itself standing to sue Illinois under Article 212 of this treaty. So why the rush is a question that Canada may ask in court. We also have a local precedent in 2025. I believe this board passed a 12-month moratorium for carbon sequestration. And I believe the task force for that had to ask for a 6-month extension because the work was too complex. I could be wrong about that. You all know more about that than I do. But I would say if 12 months is not enough for carbon, I certainly don't think it's enough for data centers, which are going to use 10 times the amount of power. Starting with 9 months is intentionally setting the task force up for failure. And I think we should follow the original ZBA's original export recommendation of 12 months, which is also standard operating procedure here. We know that after the construction phase, a 300-acre data center draws as much power as the entire city of Urbana and consumes billions of gallons of water. For hyperscalers, time is literally money. Their entire model depends on outrunning us and our public awareness. Every month of the moratorium is a month they actually lose money. They're trillionaires. Too bad. If we rush and the foundation is poured before our studies are done, we are stuck with the bill, blackouts, and possibly a whole lot of lawsuits. So if the project is as good as people claim it is for us, it will still be good in 12 months instead of just 9 months. And I'd like to ask, what are we afraid of finding out in those extra 90 days?
Next up is Christine Bidner. After her, Diane Marlin.
Hello. I'm not as well researched as some of my fellow community members, so I apologize in advance for that. But my name is Christine Bidner. I'm an engineer at the Construction Engineering Research Lab for the Army Corps here in Champaign. I came tonight to be a voice in favor of the longest possible moratorium on data center construction. Hastily proceeding with proposals for large-scale data centers that will generate profit exclusively for private companies, create minimal long-term human jobs, deplete the resources of Champaign County that help make it an attractive place to live, remove farmland from the local economy, and exponentially add to the electrical load power companies supply to our areas would be a mistake. My husband is a 7th-generation farmer in Champaign County and is the Hensley Township representative on the Champaign County Farm Bureau Board. He would be here tonight if he was not working a 16-hour shift in the field. They were notified of a proposal for a 313-acre data center near the TGM Anderson elevator along Route 150 in Mahomet. This proposal and any others being brought to local government and zoning boards must not be allowed to proceed by slipping through the cracks. all impacts deserve to be thoroughly investigated, and that takes time. If data companies see that there's a weakness in our county and that we are not united in opposing their presence here, and that we have both the space and the resources to house them here, we run the risk of one or a few proposals turning into many and pushing through to construction before regulations can be appropriately researched and passed. Our farmers have enough competition for land, from real estate developers to solar farms. Let's not introduce a new option with even less to offer in return. I know I speak for more than just those concerned about a robot takeover when I say that we do not want AI forced into every aspect of our digital lives, and we certainly do not want data centers profiting off of our Illinois land and farm ground while offering nothing more to the community than a short-term, large-scale construction project. Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Diane Marlin, Urbana resident. Let me state for the record, when young Daniel is ready to run for office, I'm on his team. But tonight's vote is not on whether or not we want data centers or whether we think about AI. It is on whether or not this board will, what kind of moratorium you will pass to allow your county staff, your task force volunteers, your community members, and subject matter experts to weigh in to provide you with the most accurate information you can have to make this very important decision. This is a vote on the moratorium. I urge you to go back to your original intention and the original recommendation for a 12-month 12-month moratorium on hyperscale data center development. I also urge you to look at the city of Aurora as a resource. I know this was mentioned in the committee meeting a couple weeks ago, so I went to the Aurora website. It is a wealth of information. The city is about 180,000 in population, almost as large as the entire Champaign County. They're going through the very same process. They went through the very same process that you're about to go through now. They have 4 operating data centers, smaller scale than some of the ones being proposed. They have 5 pending data centers. They developed their recommendations and their regulations for these hyperscale data centers based on lived experience. Last year, they implemented a 6-month auditorium, which I think is too small, too short, and they ended up developing 4 separate ordinances to regulate the siting of data centers, the operation, the performance standards, the renewable on-site energy requirements, the transparency aspect, which is how much water do they use, how much energy do they use on an annual basis. And also they solidified the formal approval process. Now they have to be approved via conditional use permit. There has to be a public hearing. It requires city council approval, and there are a number of other steps. So it took time and lived experience and a whole lot of work on their part to get to this point where they developed a package of ordinances. All of those resources on their website. For members of the public who are still learning about data centers, they have a 27-page FAQ document on their website, which is an extremely valuable resource. I will say I understand it's tempting to reduce from 12 months to 9 months. I heard comments, well, we can just extend if we need to. It may not be that simple. You can face legal challenges to extension. You can face an appeal for hardship exceptions. It's far better as an elected body who is responsible for the long-term operation of these centers if they ever come to Champaign County. Give yourself and your city and your county staff and your volunteer task force members and your subject matter experts, give yourself a few more months up front. It's a whole lot more responsible approach to get regulations approved, and then you can lift the moratorium if you finish earlier, but you shouldn't be gambling on an extension. And finally, let's talk Mahomet Aquifer. It's our sole source of drinking water in this area and for a 15-county region. In 2018, when I was mayor of Urbana, I represented the city on the Mahomet Aquifer Protection Task Force. Hyperscale data centers weren't even on the radar back then. Seriously, they weren't. The task force we were on was comprised of 25 members. We worked for 11 months. We had 25 official meetings of the task force or the subcommittees. Our report was finally finished after 11 months of work. And I can tell you there was a ton of work going on behind the scenes every day. We were supported by the EPA, by the State Water Survey, the State Geology Survey, and many other individuals who provided input. The top priority coming out of that task force was to map the aquifer. Thankfully, Champaign County has completed that mapping. You provided some funding. We had earmarks from our federal and state representatives. Most of the other counties have not completed mapping the aquifer. 3D mapping is essential for understanding how that aquifer functions, where it is, and the relationship between what happens in one part of the state and the other. That is incomplete. So the task force, your city staff, or I should stop saying city staff, county staff, are going to be working with incomplete data on our water supply, which is the key to our life in this area. It is a sole source aquifer, and there's no other drinking water available to us. That also is what supplies businesses, manufacturing, and agriculture in our community. So you're going to be asked to make important decisions about these hyperscale data centers that will consume or possibly consume massive amounts of water. I urge you to take the time to develop the regulations and the protections in place that give us all an opportunity to understand what we're facing here.
Thank you, Diana.
Give yourself time.
Thank you. All right, next is Chrissy Weber. After that, we have Joyce Mast. Chrissy Weber, Philo, Illinois.
Ms. Chair, members of the board, thank you for the opportunity to speak. My name is Chrissy Weber, and I am the business manager for Roofers Local 97. I was also born and raised here in Champaign County. I'm here tonight to express my support for the 9-month moratorium as recommended by the ELUC. I think it is important to recognize that this recommendation did not come out of nowhere. It came from a process that already involved discussion, input, and consideration of the key issues: water, power, and community impact. So the question tonight is not whether we need time, it is how much time is reasonable and how that time is used. 9 months is reasonable. It gives this board and staff the opportunity to develop clear policies, bring in the right expertise, and put protections in place that reflect the priorities of this community. That's exactly what a moratorium is supposed to do. But extending that to 12 months or leaving it open-ended does not necessarily improve the outcome. At some point, more time doesn't mean better policy. It just creates uncertainty. And uncertainty makes it harder for everyone involved, whether that is local government, community members, or those trying to plan reasonably for future projects. What I appreciate about the 9-month recommendation is that it strikes a balance. It says, we're going to take this seriously, we are going to take time to do this right, but we are also going to stay focused and move forward with intention. And I think that matters, because this isn't just about stopping something, it's about creating a framework that works for the community, for the county, and for future decisions. So I would encourage the board to stay with the ELUC recommendation. 9 months is enough time to do the work that needs to be done without losing direction or momentum. This is an opportunity to be thoughtful and deliberate, but also decisive. And the 9-month moratorium does exactly that. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Next is Joyce Mast. After that, it's Havana Beam.
My name is Joyce Mast. I'm a friend of the earth, a resident of Champaign County, a human being dependent on water for life, living during a long-term drought, a ratepayer for utilities of electricity and water, knowledgeable amount of energy and water required for a data center, knowledgeable amount about the energy cost of a simple request using AI for ChatGPT. I say stop. Stop. Consider. We need a year-long, 12 months moratorium for study to construct guardrails before possible siting of a data center in Champaign County. At the very least, a data center must bring their own renewable energy source and plan for conserving our water. Thank you.
Thank you. Havana Beam.
Hi, everyone. My name is Bhavna, and I'm a CS PhD candidate at UIUC, and I'm here to urge the board not to reduce the length of the moratorium and to take more urgently and seriously the risks of a hyperscale AI data center, not just to our environment and natural resources, but also to our livelihoods. I want to frame AI technology as what it is. It is not just a tool. We are way past that point. Technology in its current form, as Dr. Sophia Noble, former resident of Champaign, has said, it's a political process of power, and we must recognize, name it, and discuss it as such. And for me, there's two levels of power here with regards to AI. One level is of power consolidation through the deployment of AI and how that disenfranchises vulnerable and already marginalized populations. From a report by the Economic Security Project earlier this month, families are currently squeezing every last penny and dime to make ends meet, from groceries to rent to utilities. And AI is the behind-the-scenes actor in all of this. Utility rates are rising because of data center demands on energy supply and grid infrastructure. Corporate monopoly actors such as airlines and grocery conglomerates are using pricing algorithms to set personalized prices and to constrain consumer choices. Landlords who have historically functioned under anti-collusion laws are bypassing this and using rent-setting technologies to agree on and raise rents for everyone as they fill their pockets. The use of AI by all these actors is a form of power to disenfranchise the vulnerable. And who are their first victims? It's low-income, Black, brown, indigenous, and rural communities. Low-income households spend 20% of their income on energy and transportation costs, and with rural households spending 30% more of their income compared to urban households on energy and transportation costs. AI technologies are driving the affordability crisis, and building more AI is not going to reverse this, which leads me to the second level of consolidation of power here, and that is upward. The big tech AI project is a white supremacist, colonial, imperial, racist, masculinist, eugenic project that cares for no human life and none of the natural world. This is no world in which the tech billionaires get their hyperscale AI data centers they need to build the tech they want for their fascist agenda, and we also have a livable planet. They will try to sell us that these data centers they wish to build is for our internet use or our delivery services or our movie streaming apps, but it's not. We have enough compute for the technologies that serve us. What they want to build is a world in which the tech billionaires get to live and the workers get wiped out. And if you don't believe me or think I'm a conspiracist, I urge you to listen to the billionaires themselves. Microsoft AI CEO Mustafa Suleyman said that AI will fully replace white-collar jobs by the end of 2027. Peter Thiel, founder and CEO of Palantir, through various interviews over the years, has discussed how he would love to build a country in which technology is the alternative to politics and democracy. But when he realized it's really expensive to colonize a country, he wanted to change the order of the country he was already in. He wants to destroy democracy and notions of diversity and inclusion and live in a world in which technology controlled by the hands of the few decides who lives, who dies, and for those who do live, who gets a dignified life. You don't have to listen to me. You can listen to the tech billionaires as they, in plain plain language lay out their goals for what they wish to do with these hyperscale AI data centers. So I would ask, now that we know the end goal and our livelihoods and humanity don't exist in that world, why would we just give them the power to enact? But the good news is that tech companies don't have the power yet. They don't have the compute. They don't have the data centers. In fact, all their market value as AI companies is really just fake. It's monopoly money. It's what they are projected to have if they build their data center. They don't have the ability to consolidate power, and we don't have to give it to them. We can say no, and I urge you to say no. And most importantly, I urge the board and the Data Center Task Force to seriously consider our democratic right to refusal here. AI is not inevitable, and we can choose the path technology takes. We can have a people's tech, and most importantly, you cannot manufacture our consent by selling us a narrative that the construction is inevitable and we might as well prepare. The only thing inevitable is that big tech will try to sell us their AI propaganda, and we need to be ready as a community to protect ourselves. I urge the board not to shorten the moratorium and even take a more bold stance and continue to have critical and important conversations about how we can stop hyperscale AI data centers in our community. Thank you.
All right. Next speaker is D. Buchel, and after that, Roma Chenoweth.
Good evening, County Board members and my fellow interested citizens. My name is Dee Huckel, and I live in Champaign. I have questions about what this all could mean, and of course, I support the 12 months rather than 9 if we're going to do a really thorough job, which I hope we would. I'd like to know about this company. Have they built a data center before? And what was that came out of it? Were people happy with what they did, or did they have a lot of problems? And then, of course, I'm assuming there's big money involved here. I never hear anybody say about the millions of dollars that they were given to a city because they want them to have a data center. Do we have that information for us if they're offering big money and what we're going to do with that big money? The opinions I have, and that's all I've got is opinions because I'm not as educated as some of these other people are, and I've been very impressed with what they've had to say. First of all, noise. Does anyone not hear about the noise levels? And you know, we have human hearing, but I never thought about animals. The animals hear differently than we do. We're affecting animals too with all that noise. Jobs. Well, I do hope if we build it, the construction workers get great jobs. And I hope you all make a lot of money and get more jobs. But when your job is done and it's built, then you got to find another job. Well, how many people are we going to put in that data center to run it? I've heard it's just a handful, maybe 12 people or something. So we're not going to go and take care of people out of work here looking for jobs. The value of the farmland that would be sold, well, that's up to the farmer. But it seems sort of sad where we are going to give up farmland to put in a building. Electric rates, I haven't heard anybody say that, oh, they took care of all their own electric rates, they had solar, and everything was taken care of. No, that's not what I'm hearing. How about the big thing for me, water? The Mahomet Aquifer. We have such a blessing for our water supply. There's not one person that can tell me, oh, we'll fix that. If we use all the water or if we turn it poisonous, we can fix that. No, you can't. Nobody can. I might have to pay higher rates for my electricity. Okay. And the noise levels. Okay. But no one can fix the water problem. And if this happens and our water's gone down, just like the drought we're sort of coming out of, it's going to turn into a ghost town here. Who can live without water? Are you going to bathe in a cup of water? No. Farmers with their crops? No. Water. That's, for me, the big thing. I say no data center. But if you got to do it, look into it for 12 months. I'd like that. My final thing is when we think about the animals, my mom always said, birds don't poop in their nest. Why? Because the birds live there in their nest. They raise their young in their nest. Well, if we get this data center, are we pooping on ourselves and giving our land and everything that we have in the way of blessings? Are we doing that to ourselves? I think the birds have got the right idea.
All right, next is Roma Chenoweth. After that, Maria Tucker.
My name is Roma Chenoweth, and I live in Champaign, Illinois. I retired here 30 years ago to manage my centennial and sesquicentennial farms. I am here tonight about one of those farms on 700 North in Philo Township. Last month, on March 16th, I received a notice of a letter by certified mail, along with a duplicate letter describing a fiber optic installation. The letter was dated July 2nd, 2025, 8 months ago, listing my name, farm number, and instructing me to sign, notarize, and return the document by July 18th, 2025, again, 8 months ago. I immediately contacted the name on the letter, but heard nothing back for several days. Since I hadn't even heard of anything about the fiber optic project, I did a Google search and found only one article on the subject dated September 25th, 2024, almost 2 years ago. When I read that the Champaign Farm Bureau was one of the sponsors, I called and voiced my concern with the manager. Within 5 minutes of hanging up with her, the person I left the message with returned my call. I told him I didn't want fiber optic in the easement of my farm. I already had fiber optic cable installed in 2012, although unbeknownst to me at the time. That installation resulted in breaking my grandfather's clay tile along the road and also resulted in a 3-year effort to reconcile the matter, even though my farm has never been the same as before the damage. He then told me it didn't matter if I already had fiber optic cable in my easement, and if I didn't sign the contract, they would just have to use eminent domain to force me to comply. After my experience with damaged tile, it was also very apparent how woefully inadequate their contract was. It defines the easement as being 3 feet wide, extending from the township road, but not extending into the tillable field. That is precisely where I have both tile and fiber optic on my farm right now. There was no design construction plan identified, and further they claimed with any damage, they would restore to original condition. They cannot replace clay tile today, and the compaction caused by soil disruption takes years to restore. They list replacement as being done, quote, within commercially reasonable time. What does that mean? And how is that reconciled with planting and harvest? Sometimes the damage doesn't show up for a year, which is what happened in my case when the road flooded the following spring. It lists multi-peril insurance to determine crop reimbursement from damage. Landowners who cash rent do not carry multi-peril crop insurance. There is nothing about reseeding and grading the roadway after damage. There is nothing about how it is going to be installed, knife, micro-trenching, directional boring, or mole plowing. Finally, there is nothing about notifying the landowner about any time frame regarding when the work is going to be done. This is what my farm looked like after my tile was broken. Right now, Senate Bill 3838, the Broadband Deployment Act, is being blocked by the Illinois Farm Bureau due to the lack of protection for farm owners. I assisted with a similar bill a number of years ago, providing pictures and notes about what happened to my farm. I find it ironic that the Champaign County Farm Bureau is a co-sponsor of this project. As far as comparing the installation of fiber optic to rural electrification in the 30s, then electricity was something many lacked in the rural countryside, and it was the government that came in to provide through affordable cooperatives. Today, there is a wide variety of internet choices already available in rural areas. But instead of inexpensive cooperatives, private companies are vying for the money to be made from it. With all these unanswered or unaddressed issues, the fiber optic company is threatening me with eminent domain if I do not sign their contract. I will not be bullied or intimidated to get something I don't want, I already have, and I'm well aware that the potential for damage is a very real possibility, as I learned all too well when it happened to me. The proposed fiber optic contract remains with my land and would be binding upon my heirs. My family sacrificed for over 100 years to hold on to my farms that I own today, unencumbered by access of rights from another party. That is how I want to hand down my farms to my children.
Thank you. All right, next up is Maria Tucker. After that, Jeannie Curry.
What do you push to start?
You're good.
It's on.
You're good to go.
Yes. Good evening. My name is Maria Tucker. My husband and I, of 58 years, have raised our 5 children on the same street here in Urbana. We have worked our entire lives, our entire married lives, to raise our children, to give them all opportunities for them to be happy, productive, contributing members of our society. We also were wise enough to make investments and so that we would be able to take care of ourselves and not ask anyone for help when we were too old to keep working. So we didn't ask any help from the government or anybody else to raise our children, and we don't want to ask for any help to take care of ourselves until we leave this earth, okay? I concur with so much of what I have heard today. I am not an articulate, I'm not an educated brainiac, but I have read what it does, what these centers do, and frankly, not only do I beg you to take the 12 months to study it, I beg you even harder on bended knees to not have that AI center here. The reason is, thank you. You need to not consider the pocketbook of whoever you're representing. You need to consider the humanity. What are we going to do if we do not have drinking water? Are you going to take the money that you made from selling the whatever farmland, whatever you get from having this AI center here, and go buy bottled water to bring into our community so that people can be healthy? I mean, the one lady said, birds don't poop in their nests. Well, that's a very wise and intelligent thing. Please don't ruin something that you cannot replace. I'm begging you, for my husband and I, for our 5 children, for our 7 grandchildren, and for our 1 great-grandchild. We need the future. Please be wise. Don't be selfish. Thank you.
All right. I was just going to check. We are at a point where we would need to extend. Do I have a motion to
I'd
extend?
like to move to extend for an hour.
All right. We have a motion. Is there a second? Second, Furtado. All in favor of extending public comment, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you. All right. Next is Jeannie Curry. And after that is Jack Paxton. Jeannie Curry.
Is someone announcing outside now?
Yes, I believe so. I think so.
What's the next one?
Jeannie Curry.
Jack Paxton
and then
Jeannie
Jack
Curry.
Paxton. Okay. Stuart Levy. Stuart Levy. After that would be Cindy Shepard. Cindy Shepard.
Excellent. All right. Hello, board. So before you, there's a proposal for a moratorium and the possibility of extending that moratorium from 9 months to 12. I hope you will say yes to both. One reason I haven't been hearing from other people, let's see. Data centers make terrible neighbors. They use lots of power, they produce heat, when they're done, they leave huge slabs of concrete, so the land that used to be farmland, which they are probably built on, it's not going to be farmland again. They use unpredictable amounts of water. Some of these, there are many reasons to object to data centers. A number of them are addressed in the Power Act bill the state legislature is considering now. It might pass this year, it might not. It does things like requirements or incentives, actually, for putting renewable energy, for installing it as part of the data center development. It forbids non-disclosure. It prevents them from running backup generators, as Aurora has found to their dismay, that are incredibly loud. And so the data center by Aurora is deafening its neighbors by running backup generators whenever they need power that they can't easily get. Okay, all that stuff depends on the Power Act passing. If we have a moratorium, it might pass this year. It might pass next year. If we have a 9-month moratorium and the Power Act doesn't pass until next year, we might have a slice of time where there is no state law that's going to require data centers to be even minimally good neighbors, and they could slide in and take advantage of us, and we might have a really hard time saying no to them. So 12 months is important to give the state time to act, as well as to give our own zoning board time to put together a comprehensive set of regulations that are going to effectively protect us. Thank you.
Thank you. Cindy Shepard and then Andrew Wren.
Hi, I'm Cindy Shepard. Thank you for this time to be with you and to say that I want to speak directly to the moratorium. I've been very impressed with all the research that people have done about data centers and AI and the dangers of that, but I want to talk just about the moratorium. And I want to echo what Stuart just said about how important it is that the people who care so deeply about these things and who are vulnerable, as we all are, to the dangers of data centers have multiple lines of protection. And the state line of protection, we don't know how vulnerable or that will leave us. And it's important for the year moratorium to give the expert and community members and expert matter experts and the zoning staff that has done such a great job for us here in Champaign County to be able to look at what comes out of the state and see where they have missed. And I trust them to do that. I trust you to recognize that, and I hope that you'll give them adequate time. There's no rush here. Let's get it done right. Thank you.
All right, after Mr. Wren, Charlie Deacon.
I want to say thank you all to the County Board for taking up this critical issue. My name is Andrew Rain. I'm the Climate Policy Director at Prairie Rivers Network. This community is so damn impressive, so these comments are really hard to follow. They've really hit on just about everything. And I do also want to commend all of you for giving the time. 5 minutes each is very generous for you all to sit here and listen to the community members. So thank you all on the board. So I'll be briefer than I thought I was going to be. I'm on the task force. And looking at that 9 or 12-month moratorium, the public hasn't had a chance to comment on that. That was approved at ELUC after public comment occurred. It was not discussed at the zoning board public hearing. So this is really the first time we, the public, can weigh in on whether or not it should be a 9 or 12-month moratorium. We didn't even know that was going to be on the table until ELUC. So that's why you're hearing about it tonight. And that's why it's important for you all to weigh this and really consider and approve the 12-month moratorium. A lot of good points were made. One that really resonates for me is, hey, if we're done early, the moratorium ends and we have a new strong ordinance in place. That's how it works. There's no risk to making it longer. And you heard from Diane Marlin about the risks of not giving it enough time and the ability that we would maybe not have to extend it. So it really just makes sense to go for 12. That feels like I'm on the other one, the CO2 task force, and we're going on a year and 3 months or something. So we know these things can take a while. Data centers are, we've had them for decades. They've been around. Generative AI has changed the name of the game. And with the scale of data centers we're seeing now, we really need to take action. There are risks, as you've heard, for our water. There are risks for our energy system. There are risks to our community members. The data center that's in Joliet is the size of Central Park. It uses half of the energy of Chicago. We're in a new moment, and it is totally reasonable to pause and say, okay, what are we doing here? As the board knows, if we do not approve a moratorium tonight, you will all have to consider a data center proposal under the ordinances that are designed for the little tiny data center at the University of Illinois, not a 300-acre, 700-megawatt data center that we could be getting somewhere in Champaign County. So no matter what, the board must pass the moratorium tonight, and I want to ask the folks behind me to raise your hand if you support a moratorium on large data centers in Champaign County. I'll also like for folks to raise their hand if they want to see that moratorium go back to 12 months. And I will say Prairie Rivers Network and our partners are supporting the POWER Act. That's statewide legislation to address the data centers in a comprehensive statewide way. And I do want to clarify Stuart's comment about incentives. We aren't giving data centers a dime. I don't think we should give them money. The POWER Act incentivizes data centers by, if they go 100% clean energy, they can connect faster than their peers. That's the incentive, which is a real incentive for data centers. But I just want to, so everybody in the room knows, because we need to pass the POWER Act, we're not giving them a dime. And they don't deserve it. So thank you again to the county board, to everybody who came today. Thank you for considering this moratorium, and please pass a 12-month moratorium.
Right. Thank you. Next is Charlie Deacon. After that, Sean Williams.
There we go. Sorry. Good evening, members of the board. Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to speak. My name is Charlie Deacon, Champaign County resident, born and raised, and I'm the business manager of the Working Men and Women Plumbers and Pipe Fitters Local 149. I'm here tonight to support the 9-month moratorium as recommended by ELUC. From our perspective in the building trades, we understand why this conversation is happening. There are legitimate concerns about protecting the Mahomet Aquifer, planning for future power demand, and making sure any large-scale development fits this community the right way. These are serious issues, and they deserve thoughtful response. And I think it's important to be prepared in case corporations propose mega projects like data centers in the future. And that's where the 9-month moratorium makes sense. It gives the board staff time to develop clear, enforceable policies, bring in right experts to provide valuable data, and answer any lingering questions, and establish expectations ahead of time and not after the fact. That's good planning, that's good governance. Extending that to 12 months or leaving it open-ended doesn't necessarily improve the work. At some point, more time doesn't mean better policy. It just creates uncertainty around how and when decisions will be made. What matters is that the time we take is focused and productive. 9 months is enough time to identify the issues, work through them, and put a framework in place that protects the county moving forward. The ELUC recommendation strikes that balance. It acknowledges the need to pause and be deliberate, but it also sets a clear expectation that this process will move forward and reach an outcome. So on behalf of Plumbers and Pipe Fitters Local 149, I would encourage you to support the 9-month moratorium. Use this time to prepare, to plan, and put the right policies in place so that if and when proposals come forward, this board is ready. This is about being proactive, not reactive, and 9 months is enough time to do that. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
All right, next up is Sean Williams. After that, Kane Rubel.
Hello. I'm a Champaign resident, and I think the moratorium should be extended to 12 months. And I think it's a terrible idea with what we're doing in terms of like not going through the complete process. But also, a lot of us in the room forget that you all are elected officials. We just saw an election happen in Missouri, at Festus, Missouri, where half the board, half the city council or the county council got voted out. If the move is to go to 9 months, we should vote out everyone who votes on the 9 months. I mean, that's what you, as a citizen, that's your power, to vote out the people that you elected if they don't do what's right for you. So I'd say within the county, if we have over 150,000 residents, that's more than enough if people realize that A, their power bills are going to go up, or their water is going to be endangered from the Muhammad Aquifer. I'm all about union jobs and people getting gainful employment, but taking 12 months to study this issue makes a lot more sense than 9 months. And if the 9 months happens, once again, we can vote you out. And so I would also say that we are seeing a trend right now with AI data centers in the United States where there is community pushback in multiple states. We just saw one today with Michigan where they put a 12-month hold on a data center using a new form of nuclear. We just saw it happen in Virginia last week. Data centers are not popular. They create jobs, but they don't create long-lasting, sustainable jobs within our community. I believe there are other community projects that probably could get funding that could get some of these trades employment, or long-term employment and better employment than just the short-term employment that comes with the construction of these data centers. So I would just say that we deserve to spend 12 months looking at this issue because there are things that will come through in terms of the Power Act, SB 4004, that will look at water usage, and the Power Act actually looks at data centers in terms of having to produce your own power, the AI data center, versus like siphoning it off everyone else and driving up our bills. So if those things go through in the interim, it's a whole new ballgame. So take the 12 months to look at it, and if if everyone in the community is happy with it, you guys will all be here next year and we'll all be happy. But if not, we'll be looking at a new set of faces. And laws change and ordinances change, and things happen. So just because a data center goes up now doesn't mean that it's going to have a set of provisions that are grandfathered in. Things will change, presidents will change, and we'll get through this. But I'm just saying, let's spend the time it takes to get through it together. And if we can't, we just need to get the right people that'll help us get there. So thank you for your time.
We know I'm good to go.
Kane Rubel, go ahead.
Hi, my name is Kane Rubel, lifelong Urbana resident. I do work in local government, but all opinions are my own. So everybody already has made a lot of really beautiful points about the integrity of our community. So I'm not going to speak to that. Instead, I'm going to get cold-hearted and economical for a minute. Bear with me. And I just want to point out some of the financial aspects of this. Generally, is the juice worth the squeeze? In my opinion, not really. The thing about the AI companies is that they're actually not profitable. Like, on the stock market is making a lot of money, but it's the same 3 companies all paying each other, which is a massive bubble and a liability. So we have this situation going on. I have some figures, actually. In 2024, Perplexity spent 164% of its revenue between like OpenAI, Anthropic, AWS. OpenAI spent 50% of its revenue on computing costs alone. So it's just a prohibitive amount of money to run the infrastructure needed, and they can't sustain that. So that is a serious issue. What happens when the jobs don't materialize, when the money runs out? You know, when the bubble bursts, what will we have wasted our resources for? Especially because I know like whatever they must have offered us to put a data center would be a lot. It would be nice to have that money for services. I'm not sure that that money actually exists. I'm not sure that we would actually be getting it. So the resources getting extracted from our county are not going to be the same as the resources getting put into our county, and definitely not in the long term. So I think even if we're just being completely logical and setting aside every other concern, I don't know that that money is going to be there for us or that our county is actually going to see the benefit. Thank you.
All right, my last slip is for Kevin Sage. Kevin Sage.
Got it on already. Okay. First of all, I want to thank the board for allowing me to speak tonight. I appreciate it. My name is Kevin Sage. I serve as the president of the East Central Illinois Building and Construction Trades Council, and I also serve as a member of the Data Center Activities Task Force. And I appreciate you letting me be on that task force to help out with this. Thank you. I guess, first of all, I'm not going to threaten anybody with trying to get you unelected. That's not why we're here. I'm just here to support the 9-month moratorium, just like ELUC recommended. I think it's important to keep this conversation grounded in what this decision actually represents. This is about whether Champaign County takes the time to be thoughtful, prepared, and proactive in how it approaches potential future development. This discussion shouldn't be about whether anyone agrees or disagrees with the direction of artificial intelligence. That's a much broader conversation. What's in front of you tonight is about infrastructure and putting policies in place to protect the community. So there's legitimate concerns I've heard, protecting the aquifer, understanding and planning for power demand, addressing land use, noise, and visual impacts. Those are serious issues, and they deserve more than a rushed response, and I agree with that. At the same time, this process needs structure. A moratorium should create a clear window for action, not an open-ended pause. That's why the 9-month recommendation makes sense. It gives this board and staff time to gather the right information, engage the appropriate experts, and develop clear and enforceable policies. Extending that to 12 months or leaving it undefined doesn't necessarily lead to better outcomes. At some point, additional time stops adding value and starts creating uncertainty about direction and intent. This is really about striking the right balance. Taking the time to do this right while also maintaining a clear path forward. Because ultimately, the goal here isn't to delay decisions indefinitely. The goal is to ensure that if and when proposals are brought forward in the future, this board is ready to evaluate them against standards that reflect the priorities of this community. So I would encourage you to stay with the ELUC recommendation of a 9-month moratorium. It provides the time needed to be deliberate and responsible without losing focus or momentum. This is an opportunity to be proactive, not reactive, and 9 months is enough time to do that. As I was sitting here, there's a couple other things I wanted to comment. First, we're talking about a 9-month or a 12-month moratorium. Diane Marlin came up here, and I didn't know this until tonight. She was talking about the moratorium in Aurora and that they have really good policies. And they did that in 6 months. I didn't know they did that in 6 months. I assumed that they were looking for the 9 months like we are. So evidently it can be done in 6 months. We're talking about 9 months here. We're giving ourselves a little bit more time. The second thing, and this is just a pet peeve of mine, people talk about temporary jobs. When you're in the construction industry, we all work at temporary jobs. Every one of them is temporary. I'm a pipe fitter by trade. I have never been on a permanent job. These guys back here that are union members, all of them, they work at temporary jobs. That's how they make their living. That's how they pay their taxes. That's how they send their kids to school. That's how we, work in the community, and they're your t-ball coaches, they're your softball coach, they're your neighbor. These people, they live off of temporary jobs. So, people talk about, well, it's a temporary job. No, we don't bring anything. You actually are. These are real jobs for real people in your community. So, thank you.
Thank you. As I have no further slips, okay, if you'd like to fill out a slip and bring it up, please, then I'll recognize you. All right, China Dixon.
Hi, I'm China Figueroa Dixon. If Sean's still in here, I'm newly elected, so don't plan to vote me out. I just want to say I'm really grateful to hear from the constituents. People have said so much that you are the face and that in-between bridge that really represents what choices they want made. You also live in this community too, so definitely what choices you want made. If I was already sitting there, I would choose 12 months. Even though I like Kevin, and I do think that he knows what he's talking about, so many more of the folks you represent are wanting a 12-month. And it's just like they said, if you get it done before, then you do. So just me personally, don't want to, represent those folks, They're the folks that matter, right? And being elected is so nervous. I'm nervous for you guys because it's like he literally just said we're going to vote you out, and I was like, burn. But with that being said, just give it 12 months, and if you figure it out before, great. And I mean, if it was my choice, just like the little kiddo said, I would want us all to have the intelligence. I can't believe that people are in college right now and they don't have to write a paper, and I went through writing a persuasive essay and then citing that. And then literally, if you type into ChatGPT, write me a 4-page persuasive essay as to why we should not have a 9-month moratorium or a 12-month, it will write one for you. I don't even know where it's getting the information from, and I truly don't want to figure it out because if we could reverse AI, I would be all for that. And I do think it's here, and it might be here to stay, but listen to the people that voted you in for the 12 months, okay? And that's all I have to say.
Thank you. All right, that will conclude public comment then. Thank you very much. Right. With our amended agenda, we go on to 13B, Environment and Land Use. The summary of action taken at the April 9th meeting is on file. Chair Thorsland, would you like to move forward with the ordinance?
Absolutely. I move to approve ordinance number 2026-9, amending the zoning ordinance for a 9-month temporary moratorium on data centers with at least 10,000 square feet of processing area in zoning case 196 AM 26. I see Emily as a second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Discussion. Go ahead, Emily.
Thanks. I'd also like to add a friendly amendment to move this to 12 months. I'm asking this for several reasons. The biggest one is that we're hearing staff does not have the capacity to do this in 9 months. That weighs on me quite a bit. If we want something that's reasonable and gives people something that they can have some kind of certainty in, that the work will be done at this time, I think that's good governance. A couple things that I want to note, like just to make sure that we're all understanding this, and it seems like we've got the attention of a lot of people here, so I don't want to waste that. So when we write our ordinance on this data center task force, we decide where a data center can be built. We decide what kind of measures that we want to mitigate noise. We decide how we want them to access our water, if at all. It can be city water, for example, city wastewater, for example. We also have the ability to add a project labor agreement to it, so it is local labor. We have the ability to attach a community benefits agreement on that. So we are seeing a benefit to what we are putting in. And even on all of that, if we reach this golden ordinance, we still have a vote to say yes or no to a project, right? This is not the only stop. This is a moratorium that gives the process a chance to move forward, right? I also want to underline here, we've been given on the task force 3 months. That's the benchmark. So when we're talking about getting all of this work done, like that's not what we're voting on here. This is also going to it's also going to go to ZBA. This is going to be a long process, but I don't want to, whenever I proposed 9 months, I did that because we have 3 months to complete our recommendations. Again, I'm hearing staff saying that we don't have the capacity to do it in 9 months, but I want to underline that's the logic and how we ended up here with 9 months. Let's see other things. Oh, I guess just a reminder that we are meeting again on May 4th, 5th? 4th, yes, again, for the Data Center Task Force, and we are focusing on the issues of water use and energy use. So again, we will end that meeting with recommendations on what to put in our ordinance. If you want your voice to be heard beyond a yes or no moratorium, that's the place to do it. So thank you for your time.
All right,
I'm
we
going
have
to
an
jump
amendment.
back in here since I made the motion. I think I can comment a little bit. As ELOC chair, I want to back up what Emily said. When we started that ELOC meeting, we were all thinking of a 12-month. Some of the members of ELOC were pushing for 6 months. So when you hear about the 9-month, and ELOC voted for a 9-month, what we determined as a small committee, ELOC is a much smaller committee than this, made up of members from here, was that we were looking at either 6 or 9, and we went with the 9 because I didn't think we had the support for the 12. I've always supported the 12, and we hear the community supports the 12, and I think that we're going to find that the board probably supports the 12. And a couple other key points. If we finish, it can be finished, but we've heard that it's difficult to move forward. I was zoning board chair for 8 years. I served on that board for 10 years before I was on this board. I've known John Hall and P&Z and how things work. And I also know that our ZBA right now is short, and sometimes they have to cancel a meeting, they don't have enough people. So first message, public service. If you live in unincorporated Champaign County, raise your hand. Come on, there's more than one of you. Outside too, I can't see you, but I hope a hand or two is up. If you know someone that lives in unincorporated Champaign County and wants to be part of this kind of process, and you're not in a township that's already represented on the Zoning Board of Appeals, we need people. Talk to the executive. Two, P&Z staff need time to do this. You heard talk of the carbon sequestration task force and the moratorium we have on that being extended because they haven't finished yet. This is a much more complicated problem, in my opinion. This has a much higher impact even than that. That's dealt solely with water. This deals with a whole lot of other things. I won't go into all the reasons why I don't think we should ever build one of these ever again, because that's my personal opinion. But right now we're talking about the moratorium. So I hope the whole board supports the 12. I hope that we can get that passed, give P&Z staff time to work on a good ordinance, give the Zoning Board of Appeals time to actually meet about it, give this Emily's task force time to finish what they're doing so we can pass it on to ZBA so they can come back here so that you can all come visit us. May 4th is the next meeting of the task force. Please do show up. Thank you.
Chair Thorsland, are you seconding the motion? We have
I
a motion
am
on the floor.
seconding it beyond reason, yes.
All right, so we have a motion and a second. Ms. Carter, go ahead.
First, I would like to thank our constituents for showing up. We have a pattern of rushing things through. So to see you guys all come through and voice your opinion, I think that was just awesome tonight. I really enjoyed tonight's meeting. I was recently diagnosed with papillary thyroid carcinoma, and I've missed a couple of meetings, but I made sure I made it to this meeting because this is very important. There's so many moving parts, and I've never been a part of a task force that was completed with even 12 months. Like, I've been on task force for years, right? So I'm hoping that, the board hears you, I hear you, and I thank you for your presence tonight. Thank you.
We have a motion. Yeah, go ahead, JJ. Then we need to be a vote on this motion. No, go ahead.
Well, I'm speaking to the motion.
Okay, thank you.
As a member of VLUC, I was part of the discussion to make this a 9-month moratorium as a compromise. And I definitely support a moratorium so we can get our ducks in order and do this right. Interestingly enough, all of the folks that spoke this evening supporting a 9-month moratorium live in my district and are my constituents. So I will be voting against this amendment. I prefer we stay with 9 months.
Right. Ms. Furtado, then Ms. Lockshin.
Yeah, I'm going to vote on the 12 months, and I'm just going to be blunt. It's not an easy vote. Labor is super important to me. I think that at the end of the day, it's super important to get this right, and I think it's also really important to note that the moratorium was always going to pass. The moratorium was this board's idea. The task force was this board's idea, and the county has been incredibly proactive instead of reactive. But I also think, and kind of echoing back to what some of our public said, what Diane Marlin said is, and I mean this in all sincerity, if Champaign County does this and we act alone and the surrounding counties haven't, like we invested a significant amount of resources, we're going to hear about this later, in mapping our aquifer. The counties around us haven't. The counties around us are not doing the same work that we're doing, and they could easily put this on the border of our county, and it impacts our water. It impacts our utility rates. So this process, and it's a multi-step process. It's the work that Emily and Eric are doing and Kevin are doing on the task force, and our folks from Prairie Rivers are doing on the task force, and then it has to go to zoning, and then it has to come before this body. But if we really, really want to impact how this is going to play out, I often think Stuart is one of the smartest people in the room. We have to pass the Power Act. And as of now, that bill, neither of our state rep and our state senator have not signed on to it. I am incredibly skeptical of it going anywhere. I haven't seen much motion on it since April. I very rarely say this, but I do want to give some kudos to Senator Chapin Rose, who's introduced his own bill. I would prefer that he signed on and tried to build momentum around the bill that actually could possibly pass. But I do also want to say that I appreciate that he's trying something. So we have a lot of people in this room and standing outside. If we pass this 12-month moratorium, and I'm pretty confident that we're going to, that's an important step, but that's a county step. We have a lot of passion and power in this room. That passion and power needs to tell the state to act, and to act now. Because no matter what we do in our county, in some ways, it's just like putting a Band-Aid on a problem. And if we really, really want this, if we want responsible infrastructure development that doesn't impact our water, that doesn't impact our electrical rates, and provides real quality jobs, right? Because there's nothing saying that these jobs are going to be quality jobs. If those things are not put into place by the state, what we're doing here today is great, but it's just a very, very small step. So I'm going to support the 12-month moratorium, but I hope that we could take this collective energy and ask the state to just read the room and the urgency of this moment, because they're not right now.
Loction.
Sorry, I just have a quick question to clarify for myself. The effective date would be the date of the signing of the ordinance, so it would be 12 months from the signing of the ordinance is the...
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Right. Go ahead, Brett.
Thank you. I just want to thank everybody that came out today. A lot of you came out, a lot of you spoke. Thank you very much for taking time out of very busy lives. I want to say that. I want to say thank you to the 51 emails we got as of 5/17 today that came out and said, hey, we want 12 months. And I had pages and notes to talk about, but we're good right now. It's getting late. I just want to leave you with a quote actually from a constituent from today. We need policies that protect people first and consider businesses second. They will come if they want to be here. Thank you.
All right, we have an amendment on the floor to move the ordinance to, on the ordinance to move the time period from 9 to 12 months.
Sorry, I wanted a roll call on that too. I'm sorry, I forgot.
I do not really see a need for a roll call for this vote. It's pretty much unanimity, but if you would like to.
Steve, as an AM, it needs a roll call for the main motion anyway.
Okay, all right. Can I have a roll call? This is a roll call for the amendment to the adoption of the ordinance. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Eris.
Yes.
Cagle.
No.
Carter.
Yes.
Cowart.
Yes.
Farty.
No.
Fava.
Yes.
Furtado. Hanauer Friedman.
Yes.
Lokshin.
Yes.
Pugh.
Yes.
Rodriguez.
Yes.
Sexton.
Yes.
Dorsland.
Yes.
Wiggs.
No.
Luck.
Yes.
Motion passes. All right, all in favor of the amended ordinance, please signify by saying aye.
I'd like
roll call. Roll call is required.
Will the clerk please call the roll?
Eris.
Yes.
Cagle.
Yes.
Carter.
Yes.
Cowart.
Yes.
Farty.
Yes.
Fava.
Yes.
Furtado. Hanauer Friedman.
Yes.
Lokshin.
Yes.
Pugh.
Yes.
Rodriguez.
Yes.
Sexton.
Yes.
Dorsland.
Yes.
Wiggs.
Yes.
Locke.
Yes.
All right, motion passes. As it is almost 20 after 8, let's have a 5-minute recess before we move forward with the agenda. 5 minutes, please.
Harris,
Yes.
Cagle,
Yes.
Carter,
Yes.
Cowart,
Yes.
Farty,
Yes.
Fava,
Yes.
Cortado, Hanover Friedman,
Yes.
Lokshin,
Yes.
Pugh,
Yes.
Rodriguez,
Yes.
Sexton,
Yes.
Thorsland,
Yes.
Wiggs,
Yes.
Locke.
Yes.
All right. Motion passes. Thank you very much. Next up, we have our first presentation. The Prairie Research Institute is here to share the Muhammad Aquifer mapping results. I think Dr. Gilkey is with us. There she is, yes. Welcome.
Okay. So thank you, everybody, for your time and for the opportunity to stand here today to give you the results of the mapping project that we started in 2023. It was supposed to be a 2-year project, but we extended to 3 years. We needed that extra time so we can make sure the results we're presenting today, they're as accurate as possible for decision making. So first off, support is not something that we lacked. This project has been supported by a lot of people. And I would like to first thank you guys, thank you the board for funding this project. You provided the money to be able to collect data, you provided the support, so thank you. And second, I'd like to thank the Champaign County first. They were also very supportive of mapping project. We went to DC with them multiple times and were able to get money to map Iroquois, Vermilion, Ford, and Livingston. So we also thank them, the Champaign County first. Locally, the Mayor Marlin, Mayor Finan, they're all very supportive of this project. The list is long, so I'm not gonna mention everybody, but it's been supported by a lot of people. And this shows how much people cares about Muhammad Aquifer and the results that we're gonna share today. So the first idea of the Muhammad Bedrock Valley was presented around 1945. What we see up there is the map of what they believe to be the Bedrock Valley. And we see the depth is about 200 feet, but in Champaign, it ranges between 300 and 350. So around, oh, the cursor is not working. So around the area with long lines, that's the deepest part in Champaign. That's the information they had with few boreholes they had at that time. Further forward, more research done. The figure you see at the bottom left corner was produced by 5 boreholes. And the other one on the top right corner, that's most recent with a lot of boreholes. One thing that you can notice, the information are changing. You are getting more details as time goes by, which brought us to the problem that we have today. This figure was produced by our colleague, Andy Stumpf, in 2012. And you can see that he produced this from a lot of boreholes. And you can see that there is more details of the framework of Muhammad Aquifer Valley. We see what was thought just a container with just aquifer material is actually more complex than what initially thought. You have more different segments, some aquifer material, some non-aquifer material within the valley. So that's what brought us today, like what do we have with Muhammad Aquifer Valley? Is it all aquifer material, which means we have a lot of water? But if some are non-aquifer material, that is going to reduce the amount of water we think we have. So that's why this project was funded with 3 main goals. First goal was to improve the Muhammad Aquifer boundary. We have, I think, 3 or 2 official boundaries of Muhammad Aquifer. The sources aquifer from EPA, which is a Mohammed Aquifer system, and we have the Road Cap Aquifer, which is the one that they're using for groundwater flow modeling. So we have a number of information that we really don't know which one to trust. I'm not saying any of them are wrong, but we need once and for all to know where's the boundary of Mohammed Aquifer. Two, to define the content of Mohammed Aquifer. Do we have aquifer material and how much? Do we have non-aquifer material and how much? So all of that information, the information that we need to know, and this project is going to answer those questions. And we also need to provide a 3D geological model. 3D geological model gives us more details of what the aquifer looks like. So we did not just go to use the airborne technology, which, as you see the helicopter, that's the main technology we used. More details, bigger coverage, but we also use resistivity, which you see those poles injected into the ground. That one, it gives you shallow information, but it's high resolution. So small information, small area, but at high resolution and very shallow. We also drill. Drill, you get 1D, one-dimensional information, very accurate because you see cores, and you can look at the cores. You know, yep, this is sand, it's aquifer material. This is clay, it's a confining unit. So we also drill a couple of boreholes. We also use HVSR, which depend on natural seismic ambient noise. So that one is really good to give you the top of the bedrock. And I'll tell you why we care about the top of the bedrock. So for HTM, for the airborne, we did the Ford County, Champaign County border all the way to south of Champaign. So we did not do full Champaign County. You see the green line is the end of where we flew. And this was decided because, one, finances. We did not have money to fly the entire county. Two, at the time the information we had, it was not necessary to fly the entire county because as of right now, the boundary of Mohammed Aquifer ends right in the middle of Champaign-Urbana area. So we extended a little bit south to make sure we cover area that they thought we don't have Mohammed. So there was no reason to go all the way with less finances. So that's why we have that small part of Champaign County that was not mapped. So with that, we also included, like I mentioned, seismic data. You can see those, those lines, seismic, the green lines, the seismic data, the resistivity ERT, the yellow lines, and we have two boreholes, the red dots. One borehole is in Flatville, which is within Mohammed Valley, where we know there's a Mohammed Aquifer, and another borehole is in Sydney, which we know at that time is outside of Mohammed Valley. So we wanted those two locations to compare. And you can see those lines that go northeast, southwest, and northwest, southeast. Those are two lines that I'm going to give you example of the results. So first of the results from the drilling, you have the first Flatville borehole. Like I mentioned, this is within the Mohammed Aquifer. You can see that thick column of orange, that's sand and gravel, that's Mohammed Aquifer. So we proved that Mohammed Aquifer is there in Flatville, and we see how deep or how thick the sand material is in Flatville. When you go to Sydney, you don't see that thick sand and gravel at the bottom, but you have thin layers of sand and gravel at the top. So that tells us there are some aquifer material at the top in Sydney. So is that additional aquifer? Is that a shallow aquifer? Our airborne data is going to answer that question. Another part, so how do we move from resistivity, from HTM to aquifer, non-aquifer, or aquifer material versus non-aquifer material? So just remember this. When you see orange, you see purple, those are coarse grain material. That's aquifer material or carbonates. When you see the cool colors, like blue and green, that's a fine grain material, like clay. So those are confining units. The hot colors are aquifer material. So that's how we're going to go do the interpretation. So all of those lines we flew, you see two-dimensional resistivity values. And one thing that gave us really confidence in our results is because we are mapping features that we know are in Champaign County. Like you can see, you see the Middle Fork River Valley way up in the northeast corner. We have the Gifford Moraine, we have the Rantoul Moraine, you have the La Salle anticline that goes all the way south. You see that yellow, orangish color right in the middle of the study area. That is sand and gravel. That's aquifer material. So it gives us confidence that what we are mapping is really in the ground, and even the results that we're gonna present today, they are valid results. So this is just a 3D image of those results. Again, you see the black, orange, that's the carbonate, and then you see that red band, the red band, that's sand and gravel material, aquifer material, and you see the blue, that's the confining material right on top of aquifer material. So let's look into the details. So this is 3D. We took a slice right in the middle of that 3D. You're seeing the same features. In the southeast corner, you see fine-grained material. That's bedrock shale. And right in the middle, where aquifer is supposed to be, the Mohammed aquifer, you see the hot colors, yellow and orange. So it proves that's where the aquifer is. And you can also see there are those channel-like features that are coming into the aquifer. So those we believe to be the buried channels. But are they buried channel filled with sand that will make them additional water resources or not? So we're going to answer that question as we go along. So first off, briefly, to compare the seismic results and the ERT results, they very much support each other. As I mentioned, ERT is very shallow, so we do not see all the way to the bedrock. But you can see we map top of the bedrock, the shale, we map sand and gravel, the aquifer material, and we also map till, which is everywhere in Champaign. That's non-aquifer material, which is the same thing we are seeing with seismic. I mentioned that HSVR, it's 1D, it gives you top of the bedrock. You can see where you have those dead yellow dots, those are HSVR points. They indicate where the bedrock is at. And that's right where HTM is mapping the bedrock. You see the blue, that is shale. It's the shale bedrock. And the top figure, you see dolomite, that's carbonate. It's carbonate bedrock. And that's where our results, HTM results, agree with all other results that we got from this study. So how do we move from resistivity from HTM to knowing it's sand and gravel and to knowing whether it's aquifer or not aquifer? So the very first column gives you resistivity value. Through years and years of research, we know, like I say, cool colors are fine grain, and hot color, those greater than 600, they're dolomite or coarse grain. So from there you move when you have, let's say, 15 and 20, you know this is clay. When you have 100 to 600, you know this is sand and gravel. So from there, you decide, and knowing the history of the area, including the borehole results. So where you have sand and gravel, you know you have aquifer material. Where you have clay, you know you have a confining unit. So from that results, we are able to do the interpretation from geophysics to geology to hydrology. And that's the example of one line that is cutting across Champaign and Urbana, the northeast-southwest line. So the top 2D cross-section show you the HTM results. That's resistivity. We move from the resistivity, we define the geology. Clay, sand and gravel, or till. We move down, we define the hydrology. So this is aquifer, this is non-aquifer. So non-aquifer is right on top of the aquifer, so that's the confining unit on top of the aquifer. That's in 2D. That's another example, the line that is running from northwest to southeast. Same thing, we're able to define from geophysics to geology to hydrology. So once we have that information, before we can define where is aquifer, how big it is, we need the top and the bottom of the aquifer. The bottom of the aquifer, it's the top of the bedrock. We do have information or existing information about the top of the bedrock. Another colleague from the Geological Survey, Nelson, published these results in, I think, 2020. And he shows you the elevation of the top of the bedrock. You can see that yellow band running northeast, southwest. That's the deepest part of the valley, which if you remember, the very first slide, I showed the same thing. And you have higher bedrock elevation at the southeast corner. You can see it's really good information. It agrees with information from 1945. But let's see what our information from HTM is saying. See, it's almost the same. You have the deepest part, or you have the deepest part of the bedrock in the northwest corner, and the higher part at the southeast corner. And you have where the bedrock or the Muhammad Valley, you can see the Muhammad Valley right in the middle. It's continuous right in the middle of the figure. So let's compare the two, the information from borehole 2020 and the HTM results. When you put them side by side, you can see that results from HTM, it's more detailed. And I'll point one thing. When you look at the northwest corner, from Nelson, it's almost continuous. But from HTM, you see different colors within the same area. That's different value of bedrock elevation. And that agrees with the information we know about that area. In that area, we have a lot of karstic features, a lot of dissolution, which results in different elevation within the bedrock. So HTM gives you more details of the top of the bedrock, which is the bottom of the Muhammad Aquifer. Another information we look at is the material within that container. So you can see we have some sand and gravel, the red colors, right in the middle of the valley. We have some fine-grained material. So all the distribution of that material make you decide, or help us decide, where can we draw the boundary of Muhammad Aquifer and at what elevation. So combining the material, combining the bottom of the bedrock, or the top of the bedrock, help us decide on the boundary of the Muhammad Aquifer. So right now, like I mentioned, we have road cap boundary, which is being used for groundwater flow modeling. And that's the black dotted line. Our HTM boundary is the blue line. So you see you have deepest part of the Muhammad Bedrock Valley that guided us in determining that's how far, or that's what the boundary of the Muhammad Aquifer is. So there is differences, and I'll keep on going back to that, and you'll see more information as I continue the presentation. So let's look at the material. So from studying all the results, we look at different elevations. So for example, right now I'm showing you 5 and 70 feet, 525 and 492. So those three elevations show you different material within the Bedrock Valley. So from that, we concluded that around 174, that's the top of the Muhammad Bedrock Valley. And when you look at that, you have a lot of different geological material within that elevation. You have dolomites, you have the amicton, you have clay, there are well-sorted sand and poorly sorted sand. So you have aquifer material and non-aquifer material. As you go deeper into the valley, you see more sands are around 160. So you can see that's where we really have the Muhammad Aquifer, sands and gravel. By the time you get to 150, it's no longer, there's still some sand, but the other material. You see the amicton, which is non-aquifer material, but you are within the Muhammad Bedrock Valley. So the size of the aquifer right there, it's not as much as it was initially predicted. Okay, so let's look at aquifer and non-aquifer units at different elevations. So we define at least 3 or 4 aquifer, different aquifer that are within the Muhammad Bedrock Valley. We have shallow aquifer, we have lower middle aquifer, we have lower upper aquifer, and Muhammad aquifer. All of those 4 aquifers are within the Muhammad Aquifer Bedrock Valley. And all of them are connected, as I will show you. So it might be very shallow, but it is connected to the Mohammed Aquifer. So we are calling that one thing because if you drill up in the shallow aquifer, you are affecting Mohammed Aquifer because eventually you run out of water in the shallow and you will be withdrawing from what's at the bottom. The same thing will happen with the middle aquifer and so on and so forth. So you see distribution of different aquifer and non-aquifer material with elevation. So let's look at the two elevation of interest, 174, which I say is the top of the Mohammed Bedrock Valley. At that elevation, you have the Mohammed Aquifer, you have the lower middle aquifer, you also have the confining unit. So this confining unit, it's between Mohammed Aquifer and other shallow aquifer. But as you can see, that confining unit is not everywhere. So in the area that it's not there, that's where we have connectivity with the shallow aquifers. The same thing happens at 170. So let's see how thick are those aquifers. I mentioned 4 aquifers: lower middle aquifer, upper middle aquifer, shallow aquifer, and the Mohammed aquifer. You can see the Mohammed aquifer, it's very thick west of Champaign, or northwest of Champaign. It's very thick south of Rantoul and the upper northwest corner. That's where we have the thickest Mohammed aquifer. The following aquifer that is thick, it's lower middle aquifer. It's also thick uniformly everywhere. But as you can see, that aquifer is not present everywhere. When you look at the shallow aquifer, it's the thinnest aquifer and it's the most that is widespread. It's not everywhere within the Champaign County. I talked about connectivity. So those different colors show you connectivities between the different aquifers. So where you have gray, bluish, that's where Mohammed aquifer is not connected to anything. Where you have the brick red colors, Mohammed aquifer is connected to 2 more aquifers. But from the red brick color, Mohammed aquifer is connected to 2 more aquifers. So those are 3 aquifers connected together. Where you have the orange, the green, yellowish color at the top, northeast corner, that's where you have all the aquifers connected. So as we talk about aquifer protection, as we talk about how much water we have, a figure like this is really important because where we have connectivity, we have aquifer system, because whatever happened at the top is affecting what is happening at the bottom. Where Mohammed aquifer is not connected, we're good. That's just Mohammed aquifer by itself. So let's compare the thickness of the Mohammed aquifer and connectivity of Mohammed aquifer. You can see in some area where Mohammed is the thickest, in those areas, also Mohammed is not connected to anything else. But south of Rantoul, north of Urbana, Champaign area, that area, Mohammed aquifer, is connected to 2 other aquifers. When you go to the upper northeast corner, where you also have thick Mohammed aquifer, it is connected to the other 3 aquifers. So those areas are the areas that are going to be affected the most by whatever is happening in the shallow. Let's look at the thickness of confining unit. So we talk about Mohammed protection, Mohammed aquifer protection. This is the top layer, is the layer right on top of the Mohammed Bedrock Valley. So this layer is the layer that is protecting Mohammed aquifer, especially where it is very thick. So you see around 60, where it's north of Champaign-Urbana area, south of Rantoul, going up northwest, Mohammed aquifer, the confining unit is thick. So Mohammed aquifer is well protected around that area. When you look further, and that protection is from the shallow. So anything coming shallow, it is Mohammed aquifer is protected. But also, that's area we don't have recharge because we have a thick confining unit. So nothing comes from the shallow. But when you look west of the Champaign area, the confining unit is thinner. I'm not saying it's not protected, but it is very thin. Or when you look at the flood bill, so anywhere you see that it's green, the confining unit is very thin. So let's look from the bottom. Is the aquifer protected from the bottom? Everywhere you see that purple color, that's the confining unit from the carbonates. That's the shell. It is protecting the aquifer from the bottom. But where you see the brick red color, that is the carbonate aquifer. So that allow exchange between the subsurface or bottom of the bedrock into the Mohammed aquifer. I'm not saying something is coming up, but it allows exchange because the material that are within there, they're porous. They can allow fluid, gas, anything coming from the bottom coming into the aquifer. I talked about additional water resources. I mentioned about the buried channels. So let's see if we have those buried channels and where they are. So I'm showing you 623 feet, 590, and 571. So when you look at the very first, the shallowest part of the area, you see those channels. You see northwest corner has more channel than the southeast corner. And looking at those channels, the material within those channels are sand and gravel. So I can say that those are aquifer materials, so they can be water-bearing channels. So if you drill around those areas, there's a possibility of getting water from that area. And that area is connected to the aquifer. So there can be chances of water coming from those from those channels going into the aquifer. Same applies to the southeast corner. So as you go deeper, up to 174, you'll see only the northwest corner still has some channels. The southeast corner, they don't have channels. So that uppermost corner is the one that has connection to the Mohammed Bedrock Valley. So this is just showing you, as I'm wrapping up, just showing you the 3D models on where we got all of those figures. So this is 3D resistivity model, the HTM results. This is just geophysics. Then we go into the geology. So you see the geological material, you see sand and gravel, you see shell, you see the carbonates. As you move, so this we are looking southwest. So Champaign is at the bottom, Mirantoul is up northeast. You're looking into the hydrology now. So the aquifer material and non-aquifer material. So we're defining aquifer. You can see the carbonate aquifer, the red one, and the Mohammed aquifer, the yellow one, all the way north at the border of Ford and Champaign County. And here you're looking into the hydrological model. Again, here we define what are good aquifers, what are poor aquifers, and what is the confining unit. So every area you have purple, those are confining unit. Yellow, we define it as aquifer, but it's the poor aquifer. You cannot depend or withdraw water from the poor aquifer because either there's not enough water coming from there because of the material within it, or it's just no good connectivity with the Mohammed aquifer. Everywhere you see reddish brick, that is the good aquifer.
I just want to see how these overlap again.
So you want me to go all the way back?
Oh, no, you're good. You're good. Just the one just before. Yep, there we go.
You have carbonate aquifer red. You have orange, which is Mohammed aquifer. And you can see other blue, the confining layer, the confining unit. And you have the lower middle aquifer. And the purple is the carbonate confining unit. The blue is upper confining unit. So we combine all those confining units and give them one color, purple. Yes. And combine the aquifers and define which one is the good aquifer and which one is the poor aquifer. So in conclusion, we've produced first ever high resolution mapping of the Mohammed aquifer. This gives you definition of aquifer, and non-aquifer material. It gives you character of the material within the aquifer. It gives you character of material within the aquifer. And we've also been able to map the variability of those different aquifers. We've identified additional water resources like the shallow aquifers, the middle aquifer, or even the buried channels. And also gave you information on how you can use, or we gave you source of information for decision making in terms of aquifer protection, aquifer size, water availability, and so on. What we are looking to do afterwards, as I mentioned, we have soil source aquifer boundary, we have road cap boundary, and we have our boundary. As you can see, the soil source aquifer boundary, it defines aquifer system. So everything that road cap is defining from the 500 contour lines, and other the borehole information that gives you shallow and middle aquifer is within the soil source aquifer boundary. That's the red line you're seeing. And the blue line is our aquifer boundary. So you can see they differ. The soil source aquifer boundary is underestimating the size of Mohammed Aquifer, at least both in the southeast corner and northwest corner. In the northwest corner, our aquifer is smaller than what it's saying, but it's bigger in the southeast corner. So more information, more research still needs to be done and decide what we want to call Mohammed Aquifer boundary. Is it aquifer system or just the aquifer material, I mean the sand and gravel of Mohammed member. So that's more work that still needs to be done from there. The water survey is still looking for funds so that they can integrate the data we have with the groundwater flow modeling. We have the data, we are ready to give it to them, they just don't have funds to integrate those results. So that is part of the future work. Finally, like I mentioned, we have mapped Livingstone, Ford, Iroquois, and Vermilion. I'm in the process of doing the interpretation. In a few months, I'm going to have those results, but we are still looking for funds to map the rest of the aquifer. Like you can see, the information that we have is really good information. It's critical information that if we are able to get funds and map the rest of the aquifer, we'll be able to really find a lot of information that was previously thought. Thank you, and I think that's all I have.
Thank you so much for your presentation. Do we have questions from the board? Go ahead.
Could you go back, I'm sorry, just the full aquifer that was a couple of slides ago? I'm trying to figure out what the cities are and orient myself on it.
Can you tell
Yeah,
me
the bottom of your scroll right now, yeah.
this one?
Yeah. So is that Champaign County is the green
Yes.
portion that you've done on the right? And then what would be the large city? Is that Bloomington Normal there? Okay, and then, okay, thank you. I was just trying to figure out, it's hard to see from here.
I cannot even read myself.
Go ahead, Emily.
It's more a question for you all. Is this going to be uploaded to the website, I guess, along with the attachments and addendums and all that?
Dan, yes.
Okay, I would like to look at this.
I submitted the report to the county. I submitted the report. I submitted it maybe a month or so ago. And the report has more details, like all these figures in the report, and it has more details. I did not print it because I thought you guys have seen it already. But the report is with, I gave it to Kathy Lasson.
Got it,
So
thank
she
you.
has the report, yes.
Go ahead, Brett.
Thank you. Just to make sure I got this correct, most of the water for the aquifer that's in Champaign County sits in the northwest part of the county, correct?
I wouldn't say most of the water, but I would say that it's part of where we have the thickest aquifer. So northwest corner,
Okay.
aquifer is thick, and east of Champaign, the aquifer is thick. So it's just the thickest part of sand and gravel. So that's just Mohammed aquifer only,
Okay.
yes.
Thank you.
So you can say it has more water, but I don't have the, how much water.
Yes, of course. I'm not asking you for like liters or anything like that here. Thank you.
Ms. Carter.
Thank you for this presentation. I got a question. How would we know if our aquifer has been contaminated? Like, how often are you testing, like, the water supply?
So the Illinois Water State Survey will have answer to that because they're getting information. I think they're doing monitoring in a lot of wells. So they're getting information continuously. So the Water Survey will have that answer.
The water who?
The Water Survey.
Oh, the,
State Water Survey.
okay. So that's through the water company. Survey, what survey company?
Illinois State Water Survey. part of
Illinois
PRI.
State, okay.
Yes, it's part of PRI. They
Okay.
have monitoring wells that they get information of the chemistry of the water and all of that.
Okay, thank you.
Go ahead, Stephanie.
I was on the phone yesterday with Dr. Storr. He's out east, and he sends his regards, and he had a vision for this when I think a lot of us didn't understand what the heck he was talking about. But I just wanted to thank you. I know this has been a very long-term project, and the work that you've done has been really, really impressive. And I think positions us and should be a model for surrounding counties and allows us to make informed decisions. So thank you very, very much for all of your hard work.
Thank you. I appreciate it. This is very exciting to us too because it's good results, critical information that can help us as researchers and for decision making. So we're excited too. Thank you.
All right, if I don't see any further questions, we are going to move on. Oh, Michelle, go ahead.
Yeah, I had a question, and then I think Andrew has a question too, and I kind of figure he sat here long enough, maybe he should get to answer this question. You might not feel comfortable answering this, and that's fine, but I'm curious what the level of concern and understanding of importance is in other counties that have the aquifer of the aquifer.
So we have tried, and like I say, support, we're not lacking support. We have spread the information. A lot of places, they are aware of the project, they are aware of what Champaign County has done and the importance of using HTM. I think the problem is just finances to come up with the money to support a project like this. And we're still intending to use the results we have today to show to other counties and see if they'll be interested, because the more we know about the aquifer as a whole, the better we are off in the entire East Central Illinois. So we are still working on it.
Is there something that this body could do to help you with that effort? Because, I mean, I think we're all very aware, and we talked about it extensively earlier, you know, we can do all the things that we want to do, but if the other counties that have the aquifer aren't taking it as seriously, what is the point? So,
so you can help us spread the word, and I'm available. If anybody, any other counties, they have their meetings, I can go there and show them this result. So just help us spread the word, and I'm available to talk about airborne aquifer mapping.
All right, one question from the audience. Go ahead.
Andrew, could you use a microphone, though? Could we move you up just so the people at home can hear? Any of them, just thank you.
Hi, thanks for taking my question. I'm on the task force, the CO2 one, and I missed your presentation, so this is my chance. Has this changed our understanding of surface interactions with the aquifer? Do we have a better sense of where there might be connectivity to the surface with the, to the confined portion of the aquifer?
For us as a researcher, this is a game changer. It has redefined everything we thought we knew about Mohammed Aquifer. So as research, this is a defining moment. And I hope it can also be a redefining moment for decision making. Because like I showed in this very last slide, what was thought as a sole source aquifer is underestimated. Yes. What was thought as a sole source aquifer is underestimating the entire size of aquifer system. It's
the red is the current designation, and the blue is the new one?
Yes.
But it looks like it's smaller up top.
Right.
Interesting.
Yeah. So, and that's just for Champaign County. We're going to have the same results for Northeast. So that's Vermilion and Ford. We're going to have those results. So who knows further west what's going to be the difference? So there is obvious discrepancy in what was thought as source aquifer boundary to what we know now is actually the source, the aquifer boundary.
Just sorry, one more second. Could you speak to if there are areas on the surface that might be connected to the aquifer that
Yes.
would have enhanced concern about pollution in?
I showed those results. So from the bottom, from the bedrock, the red area are connected to the Mohammed aquifer from the bottom. From the top, that's the confining unit. So, and that's the thickness of the confining unit. So where you have deep green, that's 0. So the thickness of the confining is 0 or very thin. Where you have purple bluish and brown, that's where the confining unit is very thick. So it means the aquifer is protected from the top.
Thank you so much. This is
Thank
awesome.
you.
Yes. Yes. Thank you very much for the presentation.
Thank you. You guys
We've waited a long time for it, and it was worthwhile to wait. Thank you. Right. Next up, Travis is going to present our financial forecast.
Good evening. Just like every April, it's time to talk forecast. Almost everything I talk about tonight probably isn't going to be new to hardly anyone here. We actually had a study session, I think, in January, and a lot of these topics were discussed then. So again, it will sound pretty familiar to everybody. The budget process usually runs from April through November, or sometimes December. It typically starts with this forecast presentation. This year, however, the Finance Committee started the budget process a little early and has met with department heads over the past few weeks to talk about the potential changes to the FY27 budget. The forecast provides a framework for financial planning and is a starting point for budget decisions. This is not a crystal ball, and things get more difficult to forecast the further out they go. Additionally, as the budget process goes on, the board will make decisions to policy and budgets that will change the forecast going forward. FY25 is currently projected to end with a minor deficit. The ending unrestricted fund balance percentage is estimated at 28.15%. Which is above both policy of 16.7% and the goal of 25%. However, this was possible due to other funds such as ARPA and public safety sales tax helping to provide relief to the general fund. The two biggest challenges the county faces are rising costs and lack of control on increasing revenue. Increasing costs are driven by personnel and technology. Health insurance costs could rise by $3 million per year starting in 2027. This is not just a county issue, it's affecting other local governments too. I've had multiple meetings with other finance directors at other governments, and they're all expecting a potential 40 to 60% increase to health insurance the next year. The county has also received communications from IT vendors to expect large increases to hardware and subscription costs. The general fund's main source of revenue are property taxes, sales tax, and state tax. It's about 85% of the general fund revenue is included in those taxes. Increases to this revenue are limited by PTEL, referendum, and state policies. So the county has very little control on being able to increase its revenue. This is one of Eric's favorite topics. I almost want to let him present this slide, but PTEL limits existing property tax growth by the lesser of 5% or CPI. CPI last year was 2.9%, and this upcoming year is 2.7%. Due to this, the county's portion of the property tax rate usually decreases when there's new growth to EAV. If the county could just keep its rate flat, like most home rule entities in the area do, the current levy would be about $5 million higher. From 2020 to 2022, personal property replacement taxes, or PPRT, more than tripled. This was due to record corporate profits during COVID, and also the state later determined that they had an error in their calculation, paying entities more than they thought they should have. So since 2022, the revenue for PPRT has dropped by about $2 million. One, corporate profits have flattened, and two, the state has been clawing back for their calculation error overpayment. The Flash Index provides a snapshot into the state's economy. Anything above 100 is an expanding economy, and anything below 100 is contracting. The state is still expanding, but only modestly. In fact, growth has slowed recently, and it's at the lowest level since COVID. This graph shows the estimated growth to the county's general fund revenue. As already mentioned, revenue is mainly driven by property taxes, sales taxes, and state tax, which are all mainly out of the county's control. This graph is the county's expenditure side of the general fund. Personnel makes up about 2/3 of all general fund expenditures. To visualize it a little differently, since 2019, the general fund's non-personnel costs have been relatively flat, whereas personnel costs have been growing. Here's probably the most important slide of the night. It summarizes the whole forecast. In 2026, projected revenues equal projected expenses due to the about $2 million of projected transfers from the Public Safety Sales Tax Fund to the general fund to cover public safety costs that the general fund pays for. In 2027, expenses are projected to spike due to increased health insurance costs, possibly up to $3 million per year. And revenues drop due to the forecast not including large transfers from public safety sales tax in the forecast. This nearly $5 million annual gap causes the fund balance to fall off a cliff starting in 28. This next slide runs a couple scenarios. The top left graph is the graph from the previous slide, just for comparison purposes. The top right shows what could happen if the general fund is cut by 2% in the 2027 budget. The bottom left shows what happens if the entire unrestricted fund balance from public safety sales tax is transferred to the general fund. This basically delays the falling off the cliff by 1 year. The bottom right shows if we drain the public safety sales tax fund with transfers to the general fund and also cut 2% from the general fund in 2027. As a reminder, the county's fund balance policy is a minimum of 16.7% or 2 months fund balance, but the county has a goal of 25% based on financial advisors' recommendations. So So the public safety sales tax fund and CARF also affect the general fund. Typically, public safety sales tax revenue runs about $1 million more than budgeted expenses per year. However, many years, like in 2026, during budget time, we plan a large transfer to cover some of the public safety sales expenditures paid for out of the general fund. But until transfers are either budgeted or made, they don't show up in the forecast. The Capital Asset Replacement Fund, or CARF, is where the county budgets, plans, and pays for large items that need to be replaced over time. For example, vehicles, computers, buildings, etc. The primary source of funds are transfers from the general fund and public safety sales tax. There's not really any other revenue that goes into these funds, so the only way to pay for them are through those transfers. And historically, the county has not been able to build up a large account in the general or in the CARF fund in case something happens. We've kind of been paying for items as we go. In the upcoming years, the projected deficit for the general fund looks pretty bad, and the projected surplus for public safety sales tax can't make up for it. The Finance Committee and Executive's Office have been talking with departments to try to mitigate some of these deficits. Many things have been discussed, and nothing is off the table. Examples include budget cuts, policy changes, changes to CARF, creative ways to reduce expenditures, changing vendors, especially IT vendors, as a negotiation tactic, negotiating on utility prices, and many other items. One change isn't going to solve the problem of the structural deficit. It will take a combination of many things. The county has been able to maintain a fund balance due to balancing past budgets and taking advantage of certain one-time events, such as ARPA funding and the level the playing field changes to the state statute. However, going forward, these decisions for the board are going to be more difficult in the upcoming years as expenses outpace revenue growth. And once again, here is a schedule of the 27 budget process. We're at the forecast. Departments will start entering their budgets in June, and we will have the legislative budget hearings again in September, and hopefully pass the budget in November.
Thank you, Travis. Do you have questions from the board? Go ahead, Chair Locke.
Travis, when are the clawbacks in PPRT expected to end? I mean, I know they overpaid the theory is they overpaid us, so now they're taking it back. When are those clawbacks expected to end?
I believe it is supposed to run through 28 or 29.
Okay, so there's no way to factor that into any benefit to us next year. They're just going to keep taking.
Correct. It's,
okay.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, when we've been meeting, when finance leadership has been meeting with department heads, we've been asking for prepare if you had to, as a department head, cut 2%. It doesn't look like 2%'s enough. What would be a responsible number for us to not go off a cliff?
I'll have to do, I'm going to do some really quick math in my head, but roughly the general fund's expenditures are just around $50 million. So a 2% cut would be $1 million roughly. So I don't think 1 year's cut is going to be able to get us out of the hole in FY31, but to kind of keep us on track, really a 5% cut might be what is needed.
And would that be factoring in using some of that public safety sales tax, where you said typically it brings in about $1 million more than planned expenditures? If we would use some of that unrestricted overage and cuts, north of 2%, 3, 4, 5, that would get us so that we'd be in a much better, we'd have much more breathing room?
Yes, for a few years, yes.
Ms. Carter.
So personnel costs and health insurance is really what's taking us over the edge, right?
That's correct.
Okay, did the executive office get that memo? Because it seemed like they're doing the most hiring.
You would have to ask Steve.
So do we get a cap on new hires?
The board approves those, so.
This is a relevant question, Emily, that I'm asking, okay? Can I get an answer to that question?
Your question, reframe
We're going to
your
put a
question
cap
for me,
on
please.
hiring. That would help with the deficit.
And that would be a board decision.
Well, every hire doesn't come through the board, though.
Okay, can I answer? Hiring is under the direction of the elected official. The board does not have control over who an elected official hires. The board controls how much personnel funds are allocated to an elected official, and they need to stay within that budget, or else they have to come back to the board and ask for more personnel money.
No new hires would help the budget. Thank you.
Further questions?
Thanks for doing this, Travis. A question on slide 15. So understanding we did the CARF transfer in 26, is that the first time we've ever done that transfer? And if not, when was the last time?
No, we do those transfers on a regular, like often. Back before I started, I think they were done on a pretty regular basis until the board had decided to start trying to build the public safety sales tax fund balance in order to fund projects regarding the courthouse IT system. So it varies from year to year. You can see we did not do it in 25. I believe we did a fairly large transfer in 24. And then it was a few years that we hadn't done it because we were building fund balance, but historically it's been done often.
Tato.
One of the things that, we've talked about, both with you and then also with your predecessor, was sort of, we've always thought about these two funds and how they interact and how you, and I do think that there's some goodness to like having that sort of flexibility to make those kind of decisions. But one of the things that we've talked about is maybe permanently moving some expenditures that are eligible to PSST. I mean, we don't typically do not landscape a lot of our personnel costs to PSST. Instead, we use PSST. We move the money over, to carve, to fund, to sort of prop up the general fund. I don't know what the right model is. You know what I mean, between those two. Do you think at any point we might want to move expenses permanently? Do you know what I mean? Like, in order to make that fund maybe a little bit more predictable and to like permanently ease general fund? Or do you think this model where we sort of use it more piecemeal as is needed is a better model? I think sometimes part of the problem is it sometimes is a little bit hard for the public to follow because the sort of scale between the two jumps up and down. And sometimes I think even for some members of the board, it's hard to follow if you're not like thinking about this all the time. You look at it, you're like, oh, PSST is healthy. Oh, it's sick. Oh, it's healthy. And I think part of it is because we don't necessarily map all the expenses that would be eligible to that fund. So I just, long-term, I don't know what might be. It does also try to make linear, year-to-year comparisons sometimes a little bit difficult.
Yes, I don't disagree at all. I've actually had conversations in particular with the sheriff about some of his expenditures paying for it out of public safety sales tax instead of the general fund. The one downside, if you could call it that I can think of, is public safety sales tax fund. We have to be very careful never to dip under what we have to have in there for our bond payments that we have pledged there. So if we're paying for things out of there, instead of doing an end of the year transfer, if we're cutting it close, it has to be watched very, very closely. Not saying it couldn't be done, and if it was to the point where we would dip under that restricted level, we would then have to pay for them out of the general fund or do a transfer out of the general fund. So that would be the one downside of not doing it as end-of-year transfers. But I have had conversations with a couple of the sheriff's large expenditures to maybe start paying out of PSST.
Further questions? I will point out that if the board wants more robust budget cuts that will have an impact on hiring, you can certainly do that. But we've talked as a board also about our desire to try and make sure that we are adequately staffed to provide services to the folks that we serve in the county. Those cuts are going to have a direct and severe impact to those services that we provide.
Well, I think what we heard from the county during the primary with those questions is that they would prefer cuts to the services to higher taxes. So, I mean, I think to Ms. Carter's point, yeah, we do need to have a hiring freeze and start working on that as a board, because that's what's been indicated. Oh.
I just want to clarify, the board cannot implement a hiring freeze. You can reduce the personnel budget, but I just want to make sure we're all clear on expectations. The board cannot say you cannot hire.
I'm sorry, I did not mean to phrase it in a way that caused panic.
Emily.
Thanks. Yeah, a good way to think about it is that we cannot influence the policy of sitting, of elected officials. I know that we are asked, that department heads are aware that we are looking at cuts, and we've floated this process. I know that you have been offered to go over, right, cuts with department heads and give advice. Is that right?
The Finance Committee met with almost all of the departments. All of them were invited to have a meeting, and the Finance Committee has met with almost all of them to talk and discuss about these issues, yes.
Okay, so you'd say the majority of department heads are working with you in that way?
Well, they should be aware, and we're trying to collaborate with them and have them think of ideas that would work for their departments as we think of countywide things. And Ellie might have a better perspective on that.
Go ahead, Ellie.
Yeah, so I believe we met with all but 2 departments, and those 2 just never responded to the request for a meeting. So as was mentioned, we have asked everyone that we've met with to prepare 2 versions of their budget for 27, one that's flat and one that cuts 2%. And the main message there is the board is going to decide whether and how much to cut. We want you, department heads, to provide us as much input on, if we have to make a cut, what you would want cut from your budget beforehand. So to give them the opportunity to be thinking about that as early as possible in the process. And also understanding that this board may decide to cut in different ways, right? So we don't have to cut a flat amount across every department. We have a really wide range of departments doing different services, different sizes, different budgets. So it will be in this board's discretion to make those decisions, right? Whether certain departments need to maybe be cut more or less. And those are the tough decisions that we're going to have to make.
Thanks. So which 2?
Oh, which 2 didn't meet with us? The coroner and the circuit clerk.
Thanks.
And the auditor.
Yeah, it will be an interesting time for our budget choice, or the board's budget choices, when we get closer to, the end of the summer with the cycle. I think all of the department heads are aware that we have very serious concerns about the direction that we're going, about the dropping off the cliff situation that Travis is talking about. And when you ask when you ask the department heads for a 2% cut, they understand that this is amount with our budgets with individual department budgets generally as lean as they are already. To ask for an additional 2% is going to have an impact and on services as well. You're not going to be able to just cut your office supplies and be able to come up with a 2% cut. So you are going to be hitting the numbers of staff that you're able to keep and retain. Ms. Carter.
It just seems to me, Steve, that we're asking everybody to do a cut in their budget, but then it seems like the executive office has unlimited funds to do what they want to do. And I don't think that the executive office takes in consideration that we are and have been facing a deficit. And we've been talking about it for the last 2 years, and it just seems like that it's been reckless movements, financial movements, coming from the executive's
The
office.
executive's office has stayed within our budget. Thank you very much. Chair Locke.
Understood, but we're constantly hiring in that office, and it just seems like it's gotten just enormous, and also their salaries as well. So
Why don't you
that's my personal opinion.
Please present me with a list of the additional hires
that's
that
my
you're concerned
opinion.
about. Please present me with that list, and
We
we'll address it.
already
Thank
know.
you. You have not. Thank you.
I'm not finna argue with you. We do know.
I'm going to jump in as I've been recognized by the chair of this meeting. For anyone watching at home, for anyone in this room, we also met with that department head. We met with all the department heads, including this elected official, and we, as the finance leadership, told the executive's office, we need 2% cuts from you too. We need your input on how we're going to affect your budget. They were not above anyone else. We spoke to them just like we spoke to the treasurer, just like we spoke to the state's attorney, the public defender, the county clerk. Everyone we met with got the same briefing.
Ms. Furtado.
I like to make my financial decisions in a data-driven manner, and so I often review our budgets. I took the time, and I have the numbers, and I could bring them to a future meeting. I didn't think about bringing them to this meeting. I took the time and I looked at departmental budgets and overall personnel cost growth. Again, all departments have to live within the parameters that we give them. That is our only authority once we give them the money. Basically, once we give them personnel money, it's their money to spend how they want to spend it. I looked at all of the departments and overall personnel growth, and I can say categorically that the executive's office was middle of the pack, that there were other departments, and I'd have to go back and review them, that outpaced the executive office considerably. The one elected official that I would probably keep out of that equation is the clerk's office, because his staffing levels are so volatile because of the election. But the narrative that the executive office, and I will say up until we as a board made them absorb, like with our decision, an entire another department staff, which obviously then showed a big spike because they took all these staff from the auditor's office. Prior to that, this executive and the executive beforehand, their office consistently was middle of the pack in terms of increase from personnel from year to year. They were by no means the high. Any narrative that says that is not data-driven. It is not hard to find this out. Most of our budgets show 2 to 3 year comparisons, so you don't even have to flip between two documents. Literally, all you have to do is take the 2021 number, the 2024 number, which is often on the same document, and just run the percentages. And when you do that, what you will see is that the executive's office has never been a leader of the pack in terms of personnel. Costs increase, like percentage of costs increase, in part because we have tried to shore up some of the other departments in both budgetary and off-budgetary manners in order to respond to their needs, in order to keep their shops afloat, which is something that we will no longer be able to do. So for example, we're in the middle of the year when we gave the circuit clerk a pile of money in order to equalize and shore up the fact that she was losing folks from other departments and other very targeted personnel. But any narrative that says the executive office is a leader in the escalation of personnel costs is simply not data-driven, and this is not hard data to pull, and any board member can do so.
Never said that they were the leader.
You're not recognized yet. Eric, do you want to talk? Go ahead.
Yeah, this is a good discussion. It's a great discussion for a budget hearing. I want to thank Travis for presenting us with, the forecast, and we've gotten into not the weeds, but we've kind of wandered off the path. And I just want to remind folks that if everyone's in the room, we have only enough people to vote on the BUAs later on. So as it gets later, we want to think about not delaying things in the budget that we need to vote for because people had to leave.
All right. All right, if no further questions, then thank you, Travis. We will move on because we do have the BUAs waiting. Communications have been moved to the end. Approval of the minutes. If there's no objection, can I get an omnibus motion to approve the minutes for February 19th, regular meeting, and March 26th, regular meeting? Chair Locke.
If board members leave now, point of order, if board members leave now, we will not be able to conduct the business of this board in part because of certain board members' decision to pull things off of the consent agenda. So now at 9:45 at night, for example, if we are not going to be able to pass, at least unless I misunderstand things, the e-citation vote, which the circuit clerk has been waiting on a long time. And I will remind board members that their decisions have consequences to the elected officials that are counting on us to give them the resources that they need to operate their shops.
We can't pass it now, so.
We cannot pass the resolutions.
Not my fault.
All right. I have asked for a omnibus motion to approve the minutes. I believe Member Locke made the motion. Do I have a second? Second from Ed. Thank you very much. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, please signify by saying aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Summary of action taken at the April 7th meeting is received and placed on file. Summary of action taken at the April 10th meeting for highway and transportation is received and placed on file. Summary of actions taken on the April 14th Committee of the Whole is received and placed on file. All right, this will be on me since we now have neither chair or vice chair for policy. Would the policy chair like to make committee's recommendations for items 1 through 8? That would be me now. Adoption of resolution. This will be an omnibus resolution. Adoption of resolution number 2026-78, appointing Lillian Williams to Eastern Prairie Fire Protection District. Adoption of resolution 2026-79, appointing Denny Jane to the Ivesdale Fire Protection District. Adoption of resolution 2026-80, appointing Kevin Chalmers to the Philo Fire Protection District. Adoption of resolution 2026-81, appointing Eric Stalter to the Sangamon Valley Fire Protection District. Adoption of resolution 2026-82, appointing Chris Carr to the Scott Fire Protection District. Adoption of resolution 2683, appointing Howard Marsh to the St. Joseph Stanton Fire Protection District. Adoption of resolution number 2026-84, appointing Kevin Wolkin to the Thomasboro Fire Protection District. Adoption of resolution 2026-85, appointing Dale Grimm to the Tolono Fire Protection District. All these terms ending 4/30/2029. Can I have a motion? Motion from Mr. Farney, second from Member Lockshin. Any discussion? All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Adoption of resolution 2026-83, appointing Liddell Myrick to the Urbana-Champaign Sanitary District, term ending 4/30/2029. Motion by Locke, second by Cagle. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Adoption of Resolution 2026-87, authorizing an intergovernmental agreement creating Champaign County Emergency Telephone System Board. Can I have a motion? Motion by Ayers, second by Thorsland. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right, adoption of Resolution 2026-88, approving the proclamation designating the week of May 10th as National Police Week, and the adoption of Resolution 2026-89, approving the proclamation designating the week of May 3rd as National Correctional Officer Week. Can I have a motion? Motion by Mr. Farney, second by Mr. Sexton. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Member Locke.
Probably have to wait until this comes up, but I would move to table item B1 and B2 until the May full board meeting, as we do not have enough people available to vote at this time.
Okay. Yeah, we're down one.
I'll second that motion to table with an apology on the behalf of this board to the circuit clerk for our failure to do our basic duty and to allow her to finish a project that they've been working on, I think, my entire time on this board for 7 years. She reaches the finish line and she can't cross it because of this body. It's abominable.
Motion and a second to table. All in favor?
Aye.
Same sign, motion carries. All right, adoption of Resolution 2026-92, authorizing an IGA for animal control and impound services with the Village of Gifford. Motion to approve, Arez, second by Lakshan. Any discussion? All in favor?
Sorry, just
Go
a
ahead.
quick question.
Sure.
Did you do 88 and 89 together, or did we just do 88?
We did
Oh, we did them together? Okay,
Yeah.
I wasn't sure.
Okay. No questions about the animal control and impound services then? All right. That was moved by Arez and second by Lakshan. Okay. All right. It's not seeing any discussion. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. All right, can I get a motion to approve the adoption of Resolution 2026-93, authorizing payment of claims? Arez, second by Wiggs. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Kathy is not here. We have, there is additional information in the packet. Does anybody have any questions regarding ARP at this point? Seeing none, all right. Go ahead.
I did want to let the board know that we have Volo coming next month to speak to us about broadband. They were invited for this month. I'm happy we did not have a third presentation tonight. Volo will be here next month to talk about the broadband project as it's going right now.
All right. Purchases not following purchase policy was not provided by the auditor as required by county policy. Do we have any communications to share at this time? Mr. Thorsland.
This will be my last full board meeting. And my last meeting will be ELOC on May 8th. I started in 2007 as an appointee to the Zoning Board of Appeals. I did 10 years there, 8 as chair. I took a year off and then was stupidly convinced to run for Pius Weibel's seat in 2018, and unfortunately won, and have sat here since then. It's not because it hasn't been a lot of fun, but part of, remember Doge, that Elon Musk was a big pain in our ass about a year ago? My partner lost funding for the research that they do and instead was teaching for 2 semesters now, and has taken another job in another country. Good for her. And I will be following after she goes over there in June and September. So it would be hard to serve on the board if I'm living in another country. It's not like moving to Urbana, which is like another country.
Ouch.
So, and I wanted to end with ELOC because starting with ZBA, ELOC is kind of, a nice full circle for me. So, and I appreciate everyone that's worked hard to keep the county moving forward. I think we went through some weird times back in the 08s and 09s, of budget cuts, and it seems like we're back there again. I remember that distinctly. I think Mr. Hall, who left, had to lay someone off, and I knew this person personally. So here we are, and there we go. And I didn't give you a whole lot of heads up warning because I don't want any cake. And I don't want any of that. And you can try that, but take the value of that cake and make a donation to the Alzheimer's Research Foundation or the Humane Society. Do something useful with it. Don't make me fatter than I already am. So, thank you.
I will pass on in just a second. I just wanted to say, Eric, I've always appreciated your work as a board member, and it pains me more than some other members leaving because you were a board member when I came on this board. And that slice of board members is steadily diminishing. So anyway, I've always enjoyed working with you. Thank you for your service. Go ahead, Stephanie.
Since I don't get to make you a cake, I'm just going to say this. Eric, on your entire time on the board, the thing that I've appreciated about you is your moral clarity and your willingness to speak on that moral clarity, to take opinions that aren't always popular, to take opinions that matter, that take opinions to push all of us to think carefully about what we do and to speak often, I think, things that needed to be said on the record. And I appreciate that a great deal, and I've very much valued serving on this board with you.
Excuse me, Mr. Lockshin.
I will miss your curmudgeonliness, but also I have something that I actually wanted to share. The Department of Justice has extended the compliance dates for the ADA Title II web accessibility requirements for our county with a population over 50,000. The deadline is now extended to April 26, 2027. That doesn't mean that we shouldn't be pushing for compliance for our county websites. That is something that we should all be working on, starting with the county website itself and then working to the department websites. I will be pushing. I've decided that's my my goal for this term is I'm going to be a pusher. So April 26, 2027, write it on the calendars now. Thank you.
Doris.
We received something from a constituent named Nico Lang, longtime LGBTQ plus journalist who just released a book, American Teenager, that documents the lives of trans kids, speaks about the extremity of the anti-trans rhetoric going on right now in our country, but mostly showcasing how powerful humans can be, especially in coming together and working, I guess, against it. So next month, May 2nd, Saturday, there is a reading and a Q&A at New Covenant Fellowship. It's on 124 West White Street, and the event starts at 3 p.m., or as I usually say, 1500. So.
Any further board communications? Seeing none, we are adjourned. Thank you.